Hello everybody, we're back with more Higurashi. So we left off when Hanyu and Takano were basically exchanging threats and saying that they're both gods and they're both gonna defy fate their own way and defeat the other. So we're gonna see how that works out, guys. Welcome. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the world of Higurashi, Chapter 8. We're just now getting an intro? Alright. You'll be able to recreate the story from Hanyu's point of view. Your objective is to create the June 1983 ideal to you. You will need to collect many different fragments to make that possible. However, Takano's conviction is very strong. To return it, you will need a lot of effort and a lot of fragments. I'll warn you right now, it'll be a slow and painful process. Hanyu went through it for over 100 years. She even had to stop and give in to fate. Defeating Takano's conviction will not be easy. Trial in this world will put you through as much pain as Hanyu had to endure. You may surrender just like Hanyu did after being emotionally worn down by this constant repetition of the worlds woven by countless fragments. When you feel like surrendering, you can end this game at any time. But if you do, the worlds revolving around your friend's fate will be limited to only Kakushi through Minagiroshi. By forgetting about this world and uninstalling this product, you will finally accept death, just like Rika did. Your ideal June 1983 can be created by putting together 50 fragments that are scattered all over this world. To connect these fragments together, you will need the right ones. There are 50 of them, which may be dizzying. However, this world isn't that merciless. To ease your pain, there'll be a little help for you. Choose the wrong pieces. Your only ally here will give you a sign that it's not yet time to put those fragments together. As long as the sign remains, you won't be able to connect them. You might as well go look for different ones. After you put other fragments together, you might still be able to connect the ones you couldn't put together earlier. When that happens, she'll let you know. Let's put those fragments together. Then you'll be able to join the other ones too. When you connect all 50, they'll become one big fragment. There you'll find your ideal June 1983. It's when the long-awaited Mitsuri Bayashi will begin. Where you peek at each fragment, why don't you line all 50 up of them first? Most of them require other fragments. There are only a few you can actually look at. Let's try to find those first. To see the conditions for connecting fragments, just point the cursor at them. Or anything else, let's find the ones you can look at without any conditions. This will be an extremely long and difficult trial. Let me tell you again, Hanyu challenged us for over 100 years and gave up on it. If you believe in miracles in the same way your friends do, even if you don't live in a world where they live, if you believe in them. Welcome. Welcome to the world of Higurashi Chapter 8. In this world, you'll be tested to see if you believe in the world that Rika and the others believed in. A miracle only happens when everyone combines their strength. In June 1983, created by Takano, is nearly indomitable. She's gathered many people whose powers are beyond the average person to her side, her backers being at the center of national authority. Even if 100 dice are rolled ones, there wouldn't even be a chance to defeat her. In other words, a miracle is the only way forward. A miracle happens only when everyone combines their strength. And you are one of them. Are you ready? I'm more than ready. The key to a long journey is not to pressure yourself too hard. Well, let's take it at a light pace. I'll work while drinking my usual wine. Shall we begin? We have all the time in this world. Okay. That's such a weird... You have obtained new fragments. Okay. Ah. Oh my god, there's so many. Jesus. Soko Hoju Dealder test result is resolved. Kyosuke Irie's decision is required. This fragment can't get connected yet. Okay. Required. This fragment is required first.
So I
have to look through all of each ones and connect them later. Okay, I see.
今日はどういうわけか患者さんが多くて。
お疲れ様です、入江兄さん。
Tomitake stood up suddenly and saluted when he saw Irie come into the room.
そのニサというのはどうかやめてください。私は医者です。どうもその軍隊的な階級には馴染めません。せめて所長でお願いします。
了解しました、入江所長。
Wait. Tomitake, of course, knew that Irie didn't like to be called Lieutenant Colonel, so it was something of a joke. They laughed casually together. On the other hand, Takano looked rather fed up with it. She couldn't stand hearing the same joke over and over and was even thinking about talking to Tomitake about it. I've definitely heard this one before, but she didn't want to hurt his feelings, so she simply never had the chance. Maybe it's because of how Tomitake pronounces it, but she keeps hearing Risa. When she heard it that way, she kept hearing Irie Risa every time Tomitake said it. When Takano told Irie about it, he had a good laugh. Today was just a simple meet and greet. Tomorrow was the actual meeting. Tomitake had already arrived, but there would be more inspectors from Tokyo at the meeting, waiting to hear about the processes that have been made.
それはそうと、ダムのことで村中が盛り上がってるみたいですね。
それはもう村中大変な騒ぎですよ。私も役員として自治体の地元説明会に参加してきたのですが、土星と馬星のそれはもう賑やかな説明会となりました。
After the basic Hinamizawa Dam project was announced, the village was consumed with uproar. The government retracted their plans for concessions. Rather early on, they made their aggressive stance clear. They didn't want the locals to take advantage of them by showing their willingness to compromise. However, that backfired horribly, and they had historical ties to the land. The government's actions only made their bonds stronger. Neither the government or the locals wanted to back down.
ひなみ沢の人は気性が激しいですものね。
Very stubborn indeed.
鬼の血が流れてるからなのかしら。
笑い事じゃないですよ。あの説明会に夜中まで付き合わされた方の身にもなってみてください。
それはお気の毒でしたね。
いや、本当に笑い事ではないですよ。富武さん、ダム計画はどうなってるんですか？本当にこの村はダム湖に沈められてしまうんですか？
それについては東京の方でも圧力をかけています。表向きは騒ぎになっていますが、実際の裏方ではかなり屋台骨がぐらついているはずです。
その圧力が早く効くといいんですがね。村は朝から晩まで賑やかで、村人の心もこのところすさんできたように思います。診察に来るお年寄りに捕まってたっぷりと反ダム論争を聞かされる時がありますよ。
付き合わなければいいのに。入江所長は人がいいから。
そうもいきません。私は研究所の所長である以前に診療所の所長でもあります。話を聞くのもケアの一環ですので。
それはとても良いことです。感服いたします。
私は東京の皆さんがうまく圧力をかけてくれて、いずれはダム計画を撤回してくれるものと分かっているからいいですが、村人にとっては先祖代々から住んできた土地を追い出されかねないと本当にすごい騒ぎです。
立ち退けと言われても引っ越せるほどのお金もなく若さもなく、立ち退き保証金の額の釣り上げが狙いだったのかもしれないけど、急にお役所の態度が変わっちゃって全面衝突。こうなってしまったら穏便に決着というのは無理かもしれませんわね。
かつては保証金に納得して立ち退きに応じようという人たちも少しはいたんですが、御三家の園崎家が強硬意見で村人をリードしてましてね、国との対決姿勢を煽っているようなんです。凱旋者みたいなのがよく騒がしくしてますし、 ビラやらチラシやら機関紙やらが回覧板と一緒によく回ってきますよ。
ここに住む人にとっては大変な問題ですからね。気持ちはわからなくもありません。
そういう意味では思惑は多少違うかもしれませんが、そんな皆さんのためにもこのダム計画は早く撤回になるよう交渉を進めてほしいものです。撤回されればこの村もすぐに落ち着きのある元の村に戻るでしょうから。
もちろん分かってます。それについては東京の方で交渉を進めておりますので、もうしばらく私どもにお任せください。
東京の方で噂を聞いたんですけれど、建設省の方になかなかうまく圧力をかけられるコネクションがなくて苦労してるとか。
いや私ごときでは詳しくは知りませんが、水面下調整がうまくいっていないのではという話も少し聞きます。
Takano, oh. I wasn't expecting to have to talk right now. Takano had powerful people supporting her, but they didn't control all of Japan. There were some getting things seldom, but also other things that they weren't too good at. Finding a way to put pressure on the Minister of Construction fell into the latter.
冗談抜きでダムができますからここを立ち退いてくださいなんて話には本当にならないんですわよね。
もちろんです。それだけは絶対に問題ありません。時間がかかっているだけですので、皆さんはどうかそこは任せて研究を進めてください。穏便に済ませることができない場合は最終的な荒領事も辞さないことで意見はまとまっておりますので。
荒領事とは何ですか、富武さん。
そこは我々の領分です。入江所長は気にされなくて結構です。どうかお任せください。
そうですか。わかりました。よろしくお願いいたします。
大丈夫ですわよ、入江所長。ダム計画は絶対に撤回されますわ。だってそう決まっているんですもの。
As Takano giggled, Tomitake laughed too. However, Irie couldn't understand what was so funny, so he felt left out. Irie only understood the meaning of those drastic measures when he examined a young boy he has never seen in the village before. Okay. So there's that one. Repetitive apologies required. Group physical exams are, oh my bad. Physical exams are very meaningless for our research, although it's only for certain age groups we can examine many of the Hinamizawa residents at the same time. It's a perfect cover for our research center. Also because of several arrangements they have monopoly of the visuals. Oh my god. Villagers' corpses and can perform autopsies on them too. There certainly wasn't an environment this rich an opportunity for those in the medical field. Our follow-up on the work of the late Dr. Takano is going smoothly. The amount of data he compiled is absolutely outstanding. He truly was an incredible researcher.
失礼します、所長。
ああ、高野さん、お疲れ様です。
先ほど東京から残りの検査結果が郵送されてきました。こちらに置きますわね。
ありがとうございます。いよいよ面白くなってきましたね。
この面白さを共有できてとても嬉しいですわ。
Takano-san is my assistant who was sent from Self-Defense Force. But she's far from the image I have of an SDF officer. Just like our research is being concealed, maybe her identity is concealed too. I'm Her name is an alias as well. I'm just a doctor and a researcher. Without Takano-san's support, it would be impossible for me to manage this institution. She's a pipeline to her clients in Tokyo, my assistant, as well as a researcher who is an expert on Hinamizawa syndrome. Her existence is absolutely necessary here. The more I think about it, the more I feel this should have been the Takano Institute rather than the Irie Institute, and she should have been the director. But that wouldn't have worked with the plan. It was explained to me when they asked me to take this position. My client wanted a civilian to manage this place. They searched for a person who met the requirements, and there I was. I became the director. I have a feeling that I'm just a puppet on their strings, but I won't just sit here and do nothing. I was asked to research a rare disease. So I'm a researcher, so of course I'm excited about that. My client's goals might be different, but I'm here out of the desire to unravel the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome and be the first person to uncover a new mystery of mankind.
ひなみざわ症候群という寄生虫感染症がほぼ間違いなく存在するという浮かし彫りの情報はいくらでも集まるのに原因となる病原体が発見できないのはとても悔しいですね。
そうですわね。電子顕微鏡を使えばあっさりと見つかるだろうという期待も少しはしていたもので。
Viruses are too small to see with a regular microscope. So the invention of the electron microscope was a dramatic advancement in the world of medicine. However, it's very expensive and there's no way for a normal doctor to require one. The late Dr. Takano said an electron microscope could find the cause of the disease, but it seems this theory has been proven wrong. Even Takano-san was hoping an electron microscope would find it. She was disappointed when she didn't uncover anything after all the autopsies she performed. Our research seems to be having its first snag. It was actually stalled our work for several weeks now. We need to think about where to go from here.
となると極小の極小なのか、あるいは検体そのものに問題があるのかもしれません。
と申しますと？
例えばですが、野生のネズミの体に多数のノミが寄生していることはご存知と思います。ですが、ネズミの死体を調べたところでノミを見つけることはできません。宿主が死んだ時点で寄生虫であるノミの生活基盤も崩壊するからです。
宿主が死ねば寄生虫にとってそれは地球が滅んでしまうのと同じことというわけですわね。
そうです。滅びた後の地球を調べても人類を見つけることができないのと同じです。
ということは滅ぶ前の地球を調べればよいという話になりますわね。
そうですね。ただ滅ぶ前の地球には人権があります。生きているうちに調べることは難しいでしょう。
Examining a human living brain. No matter how you sugarcoat it, that bore very grave meaning. From a medical standpoint, it's necessary, but we have rules and morals in this world. And we have to advance medicine within such boundaries. There was a time when I was studying lobotomies for the betterment of mankind. I don't think I was wrong. However, could I ever be forgiven under our ideas of ethics? I don't know. One day, my judgment will be handed down by the devil. Whether I'm guilty or not, I have to accept it. As I reflected upon my past, I heard a voice. It was Takano-san's. It was very clear and simple, yet struck me with surprise.
わかりました。滅ぶ前の地球を用意させましょう。
え？
Notice the phrase advancing medicine bore the whisper of the devil, tempting us to accept sacrifices. I heard that devil whisper.
そんなに難しいことではありませんわ。南沢の住民ですでに重篤の状態で市内病院に入院しており、いつ死んでもおかしくない患者を探させるだけですもの。
Sounds pretty sus, Takano.
いくら余命いくばくとはいえ、自らの体を生きているうちに検体に差し出される勇気のある方がいらっしゃるでしょうか。
そんな必要はありませんわ。いずれ亡くなる方にほんの少し早くお休みいただくというだけの話ですわ。書類上ね。
Patient who would be legally declared dead even though they're still alive. and we'd perform an autopsy while they're still alive.
無理でしょう。第一、頭蓋を切開するような大手術となれば絶対に痕跡は残ります。遺体を遺族の方が見られたら不審に。
そういうところを何とかできるのが私どもではありませんの。山犬に子宮、条件を満たす患者が存在しないか市内病院を調べさせます。先生はお皿の前でナイフとフォークをお持ちになって待っているだけでいいんですわ。
That's so morbid.
すぐに料理をお持ちいたしますから。
We're not eating it. Ugh. Ugh. You're talking to as my partner, there's no question about that. But I just can't trust her. As her extremities as a researcher which contrast largely with mine. But are we so different? I'm here simply waiting with a knife and a fork in my hands just as he told me to. I just don't want to witness such gruesome scene, that's all. She's preparing for me now. It's exactly what I want. Who's the hypocrite? Not her. It's me. How can I say I'm different knowing what I've done in the past? I've performed lobotomies without the patient's consent, despite it being surgery that might affect their life forever. How is that different from what she's doing? I've never doubted my past achievements. However, when I look at her, I start to feel unease. Takano-san is talking to Okonogi-san on the intercom in my office. I'm sure she's telling him to come over so she could explain to him what was just discussed. Simply watching without stopping her. I begin to reflect upon my past, to remember why I chose to become a doctor. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, so I just need to click on the ones that say this fragment is required first. Forecast said there was a chance of rain in the evening, but I didn't think it would rain so hard. We decided to wait at an abandoned bus stop for the rain clouds to clear.
ごめんよ、高野さん。
あら、いいのよ、気にしないで、次郎さん。私も土砂降りになるかもしれないことを覚悟の上で出かけたんだから。
I missed it, sorry. She said the weather might change slowly. I dragged her out here. I feel stupid for making her come along and ended up ruining her precious day off. I have to go back to Tokyo tonight, so it'll be a while before I can return to Hinamizawa. I didn't want to spend my last day at a cheap hotel in Okinawa, so I asked her to go for a stroll.
いや、本当に。
She teased me for a while, but only a little. She wasn't actually enjoying driving me into a corner. That's just her way of communicating, and I find it very charming. I think I've become captivated by her. But on her part, I'm just an auditor from Tokyo. That's why she's being nice to me, and it's definitely not because she likes me personally. So I feel like I might have used my position to drag her out here, and that makes me a little depressed. I probably should think this slight fever I have is due to nothing more than a cold. She was the type of person who made it clear when she disliked something. She wouldn't say so directly, but she'd use all kinds of indirect expressions that meant the same thing. I want to believe she's out here because she might even be a little bit attracted to me. I shook my head as I frowned upon my selfish thoughts. She chuckled as if she knew as I was thinking. I found myself starting to go red after that.
次郎さんも不思議な人ね。東京ではさぞや女性にモテるでしょうに。
おかしななんてことはないよ。高野さんは十分魅力的だよ。むしろ。
確かに私はとても大切な研究のために生涯をたまには頭を切り替えて遊ぶことも大事だし、それ異性との
僕ごときで高野さんの頭の気分転換のお役に立ててるならいいんだけどね。
あなたは私と一緒にいても気分転換にはならない。
She gives me an impish smile that makes my heart skip a beat. I tried hiding my embarrassment so she wouldn't notice me when my ears going red.
そんなことないよ。僕も高野さんと一緒に過ごせると、いろいろと気分、もしよかったら次に来るときは僕の古いカメラを持ってくるよ。買うと高いからね。
ありがとう。あなたを虜にする野鳥撮影がどれくらい楽しいのかぜひ教えていただけると。
うん。僕のフルで少し挑戦してみて馴染めそうだったら新しい。
ありがとう。次に来てくださるときはぜひ。
どんな写真か。
きっと二郎さんみたいにはいかないわ。本当に初めてですもの。
While she keeps her cool and smiles, all I can do is blush and smile. Am I being conceited? Can't help but think that talking to someone likes being with me. It's mere flattery. I don't think she'd come along this far. Oh, no. Taking one's flattery seriously is a mistake that I always make. Shouldn't assume that she's attracted to me.
こうして二郎さんと二人きりでゆっくりおしゃべりをするのは初めてね。
そうだね。いつも所長とか他の
私、あなたのことを全然知らないの。あなたが東京でどんな仕事をしているか。
昔怪我をした時に目をやっちゃってね。普段の生活には支障はないんだけど大ごとに受け取られちゃって、それ以来は事務屋の仕事ばかりやって、それでね、体内の広報誌を作る仕事を手伝った時にイベントの写真撮影で初めてカメラの魅力を知ったんだよ。カメラには人を幸せにする力があるんですか。何を言ってるんだろうって思ってるだろうけど。
カメラでどうして幸せになれるのかしら。
カメラというのは日々の生活を切り取って写真にして残すものなんだ。じゃあ幸せなものはどこにあるんだろうとファインダー越しに自分の周りの世界を覗いてみると、そこには今まで当たり前だと思っていたものが
I'm not always looking for
とても
happiness
幸せなも
though,
のだっ
but
たんだと気づくことでいっぱいなんだ。
there's a lot
例え
of
ば
ways to
路肩のアスファルトの隙間からけなげに生えている一輪のタンポポだって忙しく通り過ぎる時にはただの雑草に過ぎないけれど、ファインダー越しに覗いた時、それは春の訪れを教えてくれる季節からの素敵な贈り物であったことに気づけるんだよ。それを写真に収めアルバムに残す。そしてアルバムを再び開くたびに
interesting perspective though.
二郎さんは風景や野鳥の撮影をしながらそんな気持ちに浸っているの。
その写真が芸術的かどうかとか賞を取れるような劇的瞬間、僕たちが気づかない小さな幸せに気づかせてくれる。そこにこそカメラの魅力があるんだと思ってるんだ。だからそんな気持ちでこのひなみ沢をファインダーで覗けることは。
I have a tendency to go overboard when I talk. Most of the time talking to someone playfully twists my words right back at me. It's very unusual for her to listen to me like this. The sun sat down next to me and tried to fiddle with my camera. I don't know how much of an impression I made, but I think she is indeed interested in cameras. I was expecting her to tease me like usual, so I'm happy to see that this is her reaction.
ちょっと試してみるね。
私にもできるかしら。
簡単だよ。最初はピントの合わせ方とシャッターの押し方だけ覚えれば十分さ。持ってくる。
簡単じゃないじゃない。
She seemed to show an interest in cameras. I wanted to take a walk around Hinamizawa and take some pictures of the scenery. Unfortunately, the rain doesn't seem to want to stop. But she was still having fun and kept taking pictures inside the bus stop. First set of pictures she ever took were of odd things in that dark little building. Since then, every time we'd meet, we ended up walking around the village with our cameras in our hands. Damn, just sucks that she's a bitch and she, you know, used you for the most part. Poor guy. Okay.
でしてダムの建設事業、そんなことは聞いてねえっつってん
Jesus,
だろ。
you scared me,
俺らの
bro.
誰の断りがあって
Holy
ダ
fuck.
ムなんか作ろうって言い出したかって聞いてんだ。ああ、 わしらから税金絞るだけ絞っといて、それに対する返事がこれっちゅうんか。アンドレは誰の税金で給料もらったんじゃ。
ですから先ほどから申し上げておりますように、
言い訳など聞いちゃならんねえ。いつ計画を中止するんか聞いとるんじゃい。
お前じゃ話にならん。東京の建設大臣を連れてこい。ここではっきり白黒つけちゃう。
なんか国家役人が大体踊れら人様の税金で仕事しとって、なんでわしらより高い段で話をしとるんじゃ。目線で話さんかい、目線で。
The auditorium is filled with angry shouting. The sign at the entrance says, Hinamizawa Dam Construction Explanatory Meeting. Every time the official on the stage tried to say something, the citizens packed into the room silenced him with their shouts. Trying to ignore them, the official continued to explain the pros of the dam, but that just further infuriated them. Between the stage and the citizens, there was an open area where a police squad is standing by. If they weren't there, the citizens would jump onto the stage and start a riot. I'm watching all this from the back of the auditorium. It's obvious to anyone that they're being swallowed by their anger. They've become filled with a bloody red rage. Anger that came from a certain purpose becomes a purpose in itself, and it creates a vicious cycle where anger leads to more anger. Anger is a necessary emotion for humans. People face many difficulties in their lives. Anger gives them the motivation to fight and conquer such difficulties. Therefore, anger is an essential part of life itself. So I will never reject anger itself. However, anger like this, that goes far beyond normal, makes people forget their purpose. It is no longer an essential part of life. As the blood rushes to their head, a person can't even remember what they've done. They go out of control. Such emotions are very painful, sad, and difficult to endure. You can clearly see the villagers who live alongside us turning into demons. I understand the rules of the human world. The power of an individual can't be compared to the power of the government. To be able to fight, an individual needs to become part of a larger unified power. To steer that unified power in the right direction is extremely difficult. The cycle of anger leads to more anger. Not anger that helps you live, but anger that exists only for anger. It's just like being a demon. And this emotion is capable of violently rousing us from our long, peaceful slumbers. Everyone is immersed in their own anger. We lived peacefully with the villagers while we slept quietly. Yet now we've awakened, and it's like the world is trying to return to that age when demons were said to rise from Onigafuchi Swamp. I kept shouting at everyone to get them to calm down, but my voice can't reach them because of the vicious cycle of anger. Even so, I'll continue shouting, hoping even one of them will hear my voice. Because if I don't do anything, the demons may awaken. The demons that went into a deep sleep may reawaken because of the commotion. All of a sudden, the atmosphere changed. Looking up, I saw that the anger exchange between villagers and those on the podium had evolved into confrontation between the villagers themselves. What's going on?
やかましいわ。そりゃオンドレの都合やんね。勝手にそういうにせんといてんだ、クソババア。
繁盛すったらんはアホンだら。もう一旦抜かしよってからにこのやから。
おう。てめえ、お涼さんと知っててその口聞いとるんかいな。上等切っちゃら。おい。名乗るかいおい。やかましいわ。その崎がなんぼのもんじゃい。わしゃ北条じゃ。ご主人客は引っ込んどらんか。
おお、北条の生抜かしよった。ようも村を沈めちゃる言えるの。お前なんぼで村を売った。
黙らんかい死に損ないが。いいんか。南沢には貧乏にも大勢おるん。お前んとこみたいに山に畑をうなるほど持ったら地主とはわけが違う。わしゃあの国の報奨金で十分満足しとった。町の公営住宅も手配してくれるっちゅうし、なんも不足はなかった。それをオンドレラが全部ちゃぶ台ひっくり返しちゃった。台無しにしちゃったんじゃボケ。踊れら地主の都合で人まで巻き込むなや。そんなに国と喧嘩せんかったら踊れが一人でやれ。したらん銭は誰が払うんね。踊れかいな。うちはな貧乏だし 育ち盛りが2人もおるん。おとなしゅう国から銭をもろうて職を斡旋してもろうて人生再設計ちゅうとこなんや。それを踊れはなんじゃ。いつからお前はわしの代表になったんじゃ。お前そんなに偉いんか。ああ、
おうおうおう、北条のようも抜かしたこの裏切り者がなら村から出てけ出てけ。
おう、出て行ったらもちろんそれに見合う銭はお前が払うんじゃろうな。わしが国からもらい損ねた銭きっちり都合つけてくれるんじゃろうな。なあ、村から出とうとも銭がないんじゃ。踊りが払うんならすぐにでも出たったろわ。
北条の言う通りだ。立ち退いてもいいと思ってる住民もいるんだぞ。御三家は俺たちを巻き込むな。
おうおう、なんじゃ今抜かしたのは誰じゃ。名乗らんかボケ。
残りたいやつ勝手に残ればいいだろうが。立ち退きも権利じゃ。勝手に人様の権利に干渉すんな、このダラツが。そうじゃそうじゃ。その先のクソババアはすっこんだね。
ああ、もちろんダム計画に同意してくださる方には見合う保証を用意いたしと、決して土地の搾取ではありませんので。
黙れ役人ボケ。おんどりゃ村真っ二つに策を魂胆かい。死ねや北条。村の空気を吸う資格はねえ。今すぐ息止めて死ね。
Damn.
なめんなボケが。ぶっ殺したら前に出るクソババア。ああ、おいおいおい、引っ込まんかいデカポリ。
よう抜かした。よう抜かした北条のこの園崎おりょう。久々に頭血のぼってきよったわ。きっちりけじめ取らしてもらうかんの。よう楽しみに待っとれや。
北条、やれやれ。国は俺たちに仕事と住みかと金を与えろ。
こらこら、やめなさい暴力は。お互いやめてやめて。
すったら上等じゃ。恩師が出てこんかいな。
Everyone is being tainted with the bloody red anger. I can only watch. The least I can do is to apologize for the tragedy that is about to happen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is how things started. From the day onward, the Hojo family and the Zonzagi family will wage a feud against each other, and the Hojo family will become ostracized from the village. This marks the beginning of Satoko and Satoshi's lives of tremendous hardship. Yeah. Okay. So we just keep doing each fragment that says first, and we go from there, I guess. When I asked Rika-chan, she said Stoko might have possibly gone up to the mountain behind the shrine. She's fond of going there. That mountain is covered in with trees, vines, and fallen logs, and she really likes the area. Any child would dream of having a secret base. To Stoko, her secret base is the whole mountain. However, the mountains were undeveloped territory, making them a dangerous place that was easy to get lost in. So, brother, I'm a little concerned that she spends so much time on it. But maybe I should worry more about myself getting lost, since I rarely come here. The mountain gets dark quickly when evening falls. If I still can't find her, I should look for her somewhere else.
Satoko! Satoko!
We get Satoshi content. I'm yelling as loud as I can, but in the woods my voice doesn't carry that well. According to Rika-chan, she had been making her secret base in this area. She goes up there alone to expand it. What does she mean by expand it? If it's a secret base, she must not want anyone to find it. Does that mean she set up some traps? Considering that, I should have noticed the traps on the mountain before one got me. Suddenly my foot sunk into the ground and snagged on something like a jump rope tied beneath dried leaves. I heard some noise from up above, and then a big ball made of branches fell right on top of me. Had to be one of those playful traps Satoko loved. If it wasn't so lucky, I'm sure the ball would have hit my head.
あらあらあら、どなたが現れたかと思えばニーニーではありませんの。
サトコ、ダメだよこんな遊びは。危ないじゃないか。
この先は危険だから入ってはいけないってエディン州の看板がちゃんとあったはずでございましたよ。それを無視する方には素敵なトラップの大歓迎がお待ちしておりましたよ。
Oh, ho, 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 ho. So, brother, I should stop her from doing things like this. But when I see her brilliant smile, I can't say anything else. I haven't seen that smile in some time.
それよりサトコ、今日は家族みんなで食事に出かけるから夕方までには家に戻りなさいって言われてたじゃないか。
別に私お食事なんか行きたくありませんわ。お母さんとお父さんが2人で行けばいいんじゃありませんの。行きたければニーニーも一緒に3人で行けばいいんですわ。
まだお父さんのこと怒ってるのかい？
私に灰皿を投げつけましたわ。
違うだろう。
私をベランダに追い出して鍵をかけましたわ。お昼ご飯を抜きにされましたわ。タバコの種類が違うと言われましたわ。好き嫌いはダメだってほっぺたを叩かれましたわ。それから
She isn't talking about our current stepfather. Things about all of our different stepfathers have mixed themselves up in her head. Every time my mother remarried, we had to call a different man our father. The word father isn't a word that should be taken lightly. If you don't truly acknowledge a man as your father, how can you call him that? That's how much weight it carries. However, just to make things smooth and peaceful, I used the word father even if I didn't want to. But it was too difficult for Satoko, young as she was, to do the same. Ever since Satoko was little, she'd been having troubles with all of our stepfathers. She's never opened up to our current one. To Satoko, a father figure is no longer someone she can trust. It's true that our current stepfather doesn't have any experience being a parent, so he sometimes gets rather upset with her. But ever since the incident where Satoko called the child abuse hotline, our stepfather regretted his mistakes and tried his best to communicate with her. Even my mother realized how much Satoko has suffered emotionally when it was pointed out by the social worker. She's doing her part in trying to bring Satoko back into the family, but Satoko completely refuses to even try. It's understandable, though. Her childhood has been filled with misery. Satoko can only open up to me. That's why I have to be the one and only family member she can trust. Otherwise, she'll be all alone in this world. But a brother and a sister alone can't be considered a family. Even if we don't get along now, if we continue to communicate, even in a small way, we may be able to become a real family someday.
サトコ、今のお父さんはだんだん優しくなってきたよ。サトコと仲直りしたいっていつも言ってる。
そんなの聞いたことありませんわ。
お父さんがそれを言おうとするとサトコが逃げちゃうからだよ。お父さんももっとサトコと話をしたがってる。もうかぼちゃを無理やり食べさせたりはしないって言ってたよ。
嘘ですわ。かぼちゃを食べるまでは食卓から逃がさないって言われて椅子にビニール紐で縛られましたわ。
Again, she isn't talking about our current stepfather.
サトコ、とにかくニーニーと一緒に家に帰ろう。せっかくお母さんが福引きで当てたお食事券が無駄になっちゃうよ。予約制だから今日行かないと無効になっちゃう。
ニーニーだけで行けばいいんですわ。私は一人でお留守番してるのが好きなんですの。
Satoko usually doesn't stay out playing this late. She knows we're going out and that's why she's out here alone. Although I want to snap at Satoko, I controlled myself. Because she only has me. I can't scare her.
とにかくサトコ、帰ろう。食事に一緒に行くかどうかは帰ってから決めてもいいんじゃないかな。それにサトコに案内してもらわないと僕家に帰れない。ニーニ
ー、あれだけ何度も一緒に連れてってあげましたのにまだここが覚えられませんの。まったくしょうがないニーニーですわね。
Satoko holds out her hand. She often says she's embarrassed to hold my hand in front of people, but she's holding out her hand right now. I took that hand. Stoko's fragile hand. I have to protect her as her big brother.
帰ろう、聡子。
ええ。
And then he gets demoned away, and then she gets tortured, and then... Jesus. Ugh. Everything's so depressing. Okay, required. Okay. Okay, and then we do this one. That's so many pages! My name is Satoko Hojo, but Hojo is my current father's family name. I was also Satoko Hatake, Yoshizawa, Matsura because of my previous fathers. I'm still not used to being called Hojo-san. If someone calls me Satoko, then I know that person is talking to me. Because Satoko is the name I've been using since I was born. I don't understand why my mother keeps getting married and divorced. She's going to get a divorce, why does she get married? She's married, why does she get a divorce? I've asked her before, but depending on the situation, her answers were different. When I asked her when she was married, she got angry. When I asked her after she got divorced, she cried. I don't understand the meaning of marriage. I have no interest in drawing pictures of a bride in a wedding dress. I don't think I'll ever get married. I don't want to keep changing my child's last name. My teacher once asked me if I liked my mother. I think it was when I was in kindergarten in Okinomiya. That was a very difficult question. Because sometimes I loved her very much, and sometimes I hated her very much. I couldn't decide. My mother was nice, she smiled all the time. She made us happy. She thanked me for being her daughter. When my mother wasn't nice, she frowned all the time. She treated my brother and me very poorly. She told me I should have never been born. Ouch. My teacher asked me if I liked my father. It was a very easy question, because I always hated him very much, no matter who he was. The new fathers always treated me nicely at first, as if I was their real daughter. They always told me I could think of them as my real father, but they couldn't be my real father. Besides, I didn't even know my real father's face. How could I call them my father? I couldn't. That was disgusting. Right before divorce, my fathers always became very irritated with me. They treated me like a cockroach. They told me they didn't have money to feed me, threw things at me, and locked me out on the veranda. And I was told I could forget about them because that was all in the past. I think that was a different teacher from a different school. Maybe that's true. Because ever since Hojo became my father, my mother has been smiling. I haven't seen them get into a fight as I have seen happen just before a divorce. They have little arguments here and there, but those don't lead to a divorce, and they always make up. But I'm sure they'll get a divorce sooner or later. Then it'll be the same old stuff with the family court, divorce settlements, a night flight, and child support. So who knows how long this Hojo will really be my father. That's why I don't even feel like calling him that. He also treated me well at first. When I didn't call him father even after he asked me repeatedly, he became irritated. They'll get a divorce soon. If my father gets into this mood, a divorce is on the way. After a divorce, it's my mother's turn to be irritated with me. She'll tell me she shouldn't have had me, or she can't be happy because of me. Why is my existence causing problems for my mother? I asked my brother and he told me, if you have children, it's not easy to find someone to get married with. To my mother, remarriage is a very important job, so I can understand having children around will cause problems. I think I finally understand the reason why I'm a nuisance to her. I asked my brother something else. Why are children hated by new fathers? Well, that's simple. It's because family members all have different roles. A mother's job is to love her children. A father's job is to love the mother. That means I'm a nuisance to both my mother and my father. My brother is more mature than me, so they don't look down on him as a nuisance. But maybe I am. No, I am definitely a nuisance. So now I know. Both my mother and my father want me dead. That's not true. But if they kill me, they'll be caught. But that doesn't mean they won't kill me. If I were to look down the cliff, and if no one was around, my mother and father would push me off for sure. My father had become abnormally nice to me recently. He started to act that way ever since I made the fake call. I know for sure that it's just a part of a plot to kill me. so I won't let them trick me. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Lately, when I listen very carefully, I can hear a voice apologizing. The voice sounds similar to mine. Her mother must be telling her that she shouldn't have been born. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But I won't apologize like that. I'll live. I am going to strike back. I'll kill before I get killed. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And that's where the suspicion of the Hinamizawa syndrome starts to happen. They get a thought in their head, and they start to become suspicious of somebody, and then they start hallucinating, going crazy, becoming violent. Everything. All of the things. Okay. Already did this one. Required. What am I missing here? I've already done that one. Already done that one. Red capsule. Ah! I ran into Satoko while on my way to the grocery store for my mother. Satoko said she was going there too, so we decided to go together. After exchanging our shopping list, it became easy to guess what the other family would be having for dinner. Soko's family is having grilled fish and cooked vegetables. Ugh, I can't do fish. We're having Salisbury steak. Ooh, that sounds good.
あら、ハンバーグとは羨ましいですわね。私、魚はともかく煮物というのがちょっと怖いんですのよ。先日買ったかぼちゃがまだだいぶ残ってるみたいなんですもの。きっと今夜もかぼちゃの煮物三昧なのです。かわいそかわいそなのです。あらかじめかぼちゃが出てくると分かっているのも憂鬱でございますわね。はあ。突然かぼちゃを出されても怒るくせに贅沢なさとこなのです。
It's good if it's a pie.
リカにだって少しは嫌いな食べ物があるはずですわよ。そういえばリカ、大福とかシュークリームとか甘いものが嫌いだったんではございませんこと。
How dare you
別に
not
嫌い
like
ではないので
sweets?
す。意地悪で食べないだけなのですよ。食べる気なら何個でも食べられちゃいますのです。パンプキンパイだって美味しくいただけますのですよ。ミパーン。リカだけ好き嫌いがないなんてずるいですわ。
Conversations like this are how I have fun. Satoko is my best friend. I usually don't like grocery shopping, but if I'm with Satoko, I can make it into an enjoyable evening stroll. Near the supermarket, there's grocers and other shops forming a little shopping district. The grocery store is busy this time of day. All the housewives and Hinamizawa gather here to shop. Since Satoko and I have different things to buy, we decide to do our shopping separately.
いらっしゃいいらっしゃい。おや、リカちゃま、いらっしゃい。お買い物かい？えらいね。
リパー、僕はお買い物ができる偉い子なのです。
She's so cute.
リカちゃまは偉いな。
Oh my
ほら、
goodness.
偉いこのご褒美にこれをあげよう。
There were several candies from the owner's occasional asthma attack inside a sieve full of change hanging in the front. He picked out a sweet from there and gave it to me. It was my favorite flavor, strawberry milk. Ah! I put it in my pocket so I can brag about it to Satoko later. I get a lot of fun out of seizing Satoko and making her jealous. She always overreacts, so I never get bored when I'm with her.
おやリカちゃまのところは今日は何だい豚のひき肉だと
ハンバーグなのですよ。お花の形の目玉焼きを乗っけてケチャップでお絵描きをするのです。
Ooh, that sounds so good!
それはいいね
I enjoyed the conversation while filling my shopping basket. But then I overheard some women whispering. They're talking about something that's a little harsh. They're talking about Satoko. How long do those village traders plan to stay here? They should just leave. They don't have the guts to go shopping themselves and make their daughter do it instead. The women went on and on. Ever since the Hojo family and the Sonozaki family got into that huge fight at the explanatory meeting for the dam project, the Hojo family has been ostracized within the village. At first, there were a significant number of families in favor of leaving, like the Hojos. The main branch of the Sonozakis led a push to completely solidify the village's opinion, and as the tone of unified resistance grew stronger, the pro-evacuation families, oh my god, steadily grew quiet. Public harassment led by Sonozakis and Kimayoshis, two of the three families with powerful influence on the village, also played an effect too. The Sonozaki family made the Hojo family into an example, to ensure there would be no more pro-evacuation supporters. The ancestors of the village have lived here for generations, and the villagers also know that they themselves will be buried in this village, so this harassment put a lot of pressure on them. Who was it that agreed to make the Hojo family the leader of the pro-evacuation group at the explanatory meeting? Those same people no longer said anything. They even joined in on harassing the Hojo family. The harassment they faced then became pressure from the entire village. The Hojo family is hardly wealthy, and they haven't paid the town council fees in a long time. When things were peaceful, nobody said anything about it. But now that the wind was blowing in a different way, the Hojo family were asked to pay off all of their late council fees immediately. It wasn't an amount they couldn't afford, but the Hojos recognized a fight was being picked with them, and they responded to it. So the Hojo family quit the town council. But that only played right into the village's evil plan. Being an enemy of the town council meant facing vicious harassment. For example, the place the Hojos dumped their trash was a provisional dumping site established by the town council and the waste management department. Under the council agreement, only council members could use it. Ever since the day the Hojo family quit the village council, their trash bags were returned to their front door. Wow, all the bags were torn. On top of that, a sign went up into the hedge road near the Hojo family. It said, "Private road, no trespassing." Only council members were permitted. A stubborn old man stood in guard of the road, saying that he would not let any of the Hojo family members pass through. The private road is private property opened up to the public, so it just looks like a normal road. However, as private property, the owner can forbid anyone else to pass through whatever they like. More and more, the village piled on vicious harassment. Fear of antagonism spread throughout the entire village. And people became afraid that if they supported the Hojo family, they'd go through the same thing. This has made the Hojo family even more isolated. The grown-ups haven't told their kids about what's going on, so Satoko isn't harassed in any way at school. But it was hard to imagine she probably spent her days feeling so anxious she could hardly breathe. Even the women whispering in here aren't saying anything directly to Satoko. It's not like she doesn't notice their muttering in the cold stares. When did this village become so cold towards her? As her best friend, it's very sad for me. Satoko's shopping experience is nothing like mine. When I say hello or buy things, I usually get treats or a discount, but that doesn't happen to Satoko. On the contrary, she's served last on purpose, except that shop owners even pretend they don't see her. Obviously, people don't want to have anything to do with her. Satoko had been weaving through the housewives crowding the shop, telling the fishmonger what she wanted, but she kept getting ignored. She's decided to keep her smile and pretend she doesn't mind, but I know. It's far too painful for her to endure. At that point, Satoko dropped her coins on the ground. Maybe her finger got stuck on something when she was trying to put the change back into her wallet. I ran through the crowd to help her pick them up. But as I did, I noticed something. Satoko dropped a lot of coins and is struggling to pick all of them up, but nobody is helping her. It's not just that, it's almost like they're acting like they don't even see her there. Satoko isn't expecting anyone to help her since she's the one who dropped them. But there are so many people around. Not even one is trying to aid her.
さとこ、僕も拾いますですよ。大丈夫ですわよ、リカ。
That reaction is all I need to tell how hurt she is. Furthermore, when I started to help Satoko, other housewives started to pick up the coins too. So it's the natural thing to do. So they can only help if a shrine maiden of the Furude family does. If I didn't help, they would have disregarded her completely. The fact that the other people helped only because I did hurts Satoko even more. I grabbed the coins from the housewives without thanking them. I'd rather spit at them than do that.
ありがとうございますわ、リカ。皆さん。
If she didn't thank them, people would talk about that too. Satoko forced out her words of gratitude. The housewives looked down at her with blank expressions. I can't stand this. I can't stand what Satoko is going through right now.
お買い物が終わりましたら行きましょうです、さとこ。ええ。
I grabbed Satoko's arm and pulled her away. I was frustrated, sad, and bitter. What had Satoko done? Reality is just too cruel. Everyone loves me. But can I share that love with Satoko? Satoko must be wondering why people treat me so differently. I shouldn't come shopping with her. Or rather, I should have done her shopping instead.
さとこ。なんですの、リカ。風にをばらまいてしまって、かわいそうなのです。なので、これはさとこへの残念賞なのですよ。
I wanted to at least erase her pain a little bit, so I pulled out the strawberry milk candy I just received. But Satoko refused to take it.
その飴はリカがもらったものではありませんの。
My hand froze. She saw me getting this candy.
渡した人だってリカに食べてほしいと思って渡したんですわ。だから私が食べたら失礼ですわよ。
Satoko turned her back on me and kept walking. Without even saying goodbye, she continued on to her house with the shopping bags in her hands. I only wanted to ease her pain, but I ended up rubbing salt in her wound. How can I call myself her best friend? If I could, I would have crushed the candy right there. Unfortunately, there's only so much you can do, you know? You're only human and you're still a kid too. I mean, there's only so much. So the milk candy. Yon-san, your friend is here. I heard the housekeeper's voice. Our house and the front yard are huge, so unlike normal houses ringing a doorbell or yelling my name repeatedly asking to play won't work.
あ、はいはい。ありがとうございます。どなたです？
Rika Furude-chan.
あー、来たね来たね。ばっちゃんにリカちゃまが来たって伝えてもらえます？多分あっちの縁側にいると思います。私はスイカを引き上げてきますね。
Watermelon! Yes! Granny received many beautiful watermelons from somebody, so she wanted to share. I just called the Furude house a short time ago, and Rika-chan is here to pick one up. Did she come on her bicycle? I can't remember if it has a big enough basket. I pulled the watermelon from the well while thinking about that. The cold water in the well has refrigerated the watermelon, and the condensation makes it look delicious. 3 members of the Furude family will enjoy it for at least 2 nights. Me?
お持ち帰りだったのですか。僕はてっきり。あれ？おじさんそう言わなかったっけ？
The priest answered the phone, and I thought I told him to come pick it up. Maybe I wasn't clear enough, or maybe he misunderstood me completely. But she's here to eat the watermelon, not to take it home. Besides, the small basket on Rika's bicycle won't hold the watermelon, and it's too dangerous for her to ride while holding it in her hands.
ミオン、お前リカちゃまんちまで超持ってたらな。スイカ片手な自転車なんこがれんて。
ってスイカくらい持てますのですよ。
あー、危な危な危な。リカちゃまに何かあったらお社様に申し訳立てんね。うちのミオンが運ぶんね。任せたったら。
はいはい、任せられたったら、じゃあついでに神主さんにご挨拶でもしてこようかね。
No matter whether she rides or pushes her bicycle, Rika-chan's hands will be occupied. So I'm going to carry the watermelon. The sky is turning auburn in the sunset. Cool breeze feels good on my sandaled feet. The plastic bag I'm carrying contains the watermelon. And also some small bags of rock candy. Ooh! Her mother finds them, she'll take them away, so we decided to eat them before we got to her home. We opened the bags and enjoyed the rock candy. Rika-chan isn't an exception. Whenever kids from our neighborhood come to our house for errands, Granny gives them some treats. Actually, that's a pretty common rule here in Hinamizawa. It's funny, but sometimes when parents aren't watching, siblings will fight over who gets to take the circular notice to the next house over. These bags of rock candy are like tips for them. Of course, she doesn't normally give out this much. Usually it's just a little piece of it. Granny's being extra nice to Rika-chan.
僕だけこんなにいろいろお駄賃をもらうと他の人に悪い気がしますです。
別に気にすることないんじゃない？お駄賃は好意みたいなもんなんだもん。変に断るよりは子供らしくありがとうって言って笑顔を見せる方がよっぽどいいと思うけどね。
みーはお駄賃をよくもらえますですか？
昔はね。でもさすがにこの年になったらもらわなくなったな。今もらうとなんだか子供扱いされてるみたいでかえってカチンとくるかな。なんてね。
Young adults and adults deserve treats too.
いいじゃんいいじゃん。
I want treats.
もらえるうちにもらっとけばいい。私くらいになれば欲しくてももらえなくなるんだからさ。
Let's talk about ordinary things. I noticed Rika-chan seemed a little sad.
僕はお買い物に行ってもよくお駄賃、さとこは一緒に行ってももらえませんです。
I can think of so many reasons why. Not only Satoko, but everyone in the Hojo family is being treated poorly in Hinamizawa. The Sotozaki family are the ones who triggered that. 2 dam supporters have died in an accident already, but the malice against the Hojo family is still going. It's directed against Satoko and Satoshi, their children, and the aunt and uncle are taking care of them. The big fight between the Hojo family and the Sonozaki family at the explanatory meeting started all of this. But that was the Hojo couple, and it shouldn't have anything to do with the children and their aunt and uncle. But the idea that the Hojo family are traitors evolved on its own, therefore anyone bearing the Hojo name is to be treated poorly. Aunt and uncle weren't the dam supporters, so over time the attacks toward them should have stopped. But they're rather odd and they keep having trouble with their neighbors. They don't follow the community rules, they don't do their community duties, and they spray pesticides while their neighbor's laundry is still hanging outside. They often get into fights with the other villagers, they'd be hated even without the dam. For the Hojo family continues to be treated poorly. But none of that should have anything to do with Satoko and Satoshi. Satoko and Satoshi are often depressed at school. I tried to leave the conflict behind the 2 families aside, but I wonder how they really feel about that. From their point of view, I'm just another member of the family that keeps harassing them.
せめて学校にはそんな雰囲気を持ち込ませたくない。だから私はそういう風に振る舞ってるつもりだよ。
それを学校の中だけでなく外にも広げるにはどうしたらいいのですか？
That'd be pretty difficult. Hojo family made enemies of the 3 families. They were branded as traitors, and that's still considered the truth. It wouldn't mean anything if one person suggested an end to the hostilities just because the events around the dam are history now. On the contrary, that would just put them in the same position. Unfortunately for Satoko and Satoshi, the only thing they could do is to wait patiently until the issue withers away. All I can do for them is provide an oasis until that day comes.
では、さとこたちはいつまで耐え忍べばいいのですか？
わかんない。ダム戦争は数年に及んだ。その時に押された烙印を払拭するんだから、それと同じ年数は
それはつまり、さとこたちが大人になるまで 誰にも許してもらえないということですか。聡子が子供のうちはずっと村中から冷たい目で見られていろということですか。
それはあまりにも辛いね。
僕たちは聡子やサトシの仲間なのですよね。
そうだよ。私にとってだって二人は友達だよ、仲間だよ。
なら僕たちの仲間を救うために僕たちに何かできることはないのでしょうか。
私たちに何ができるんだろうね。
Even if the Sonozaki family declares that the dam conflict is over, the Hojo family are no longer outcasts. That won't solve the problem. It's not that simple. In the first place, Granny hates the Hojo family and won't suffer their name to be mentioned in her presence. It's not a matter of someone forgiving another. It's a matter of very complicated ties between the people in this village. It's absolutely terrifying to have them as your enemies. Everyone knows that very well, and that's why they maintain a good relationship with their neighbors. However, if you make enemies out of them, you'll have to face the consequences. That's the unwritten law of the Japanese community. And the Sonozaki family is a part of that unwritten law. Now that the Hojo family are outcasts, not even the Sonozaki family can overturn the situation.
南沢のことは南沢の人間にはどうしようもないということなのでしょうか。
悲しいけどそういうこともあるかもしれない。もし聡子を救う人が現れてくれるとしたら、それは村のしがらみにとらわれない、そういう人なんだろうね。でもそんな人村にはいない。
村の外から誰かが助けに来なければ救われないということですか。
And Kriki-chan says, would a knight in shining armor from the outside world ever come here? Would that person bring in a new wind into this village that has never been filled with stale air for hundreds of years? No way. That's just wishful thinking. Time will solve the problem someday. Until then, I have to be their ally. I can't think of anything else I can do for them. As Rika-chan and I crunched on our rock candy, we can only pray that people will forgive Satoko and her family sooner rather than later. Rika-chan gently broke the heavy silence.
きっと村の外からしがらみにとらわれない人がやってきます。
そうだね。ダム戦争も終わったんだから、また分譲地に外から人が引っ越してきてくれるといいね。近い年の転校生とか来れば楽しいだろうに。
来ます、きっと。そして彼と力を合わせて私たちは村の悪兵を打ち破るのです。それが私たちの未来を閉ざす3つの錠前に対する最
One
初
of
の
the three locks.
え？何それ？
So one of them is Satoko.
なんかの小説？
Rika-chan says some odd things sometimes. When she talks that way, she seems so mature. I even start to doubt she's really younger than I am. The unreasonable antagonism towards the Hojo family. Will there really be someone from the outside who will shatter our old traditions? Good question. And there will be. His name is Keiichi. Okay, milk candy. Oh. Let's see. Acquired. Game board must be set up. Okay. So I can do this one. Okay. The Hojo family is well known against the whole village during the dam conflict. Both the husband and the wife were rather aggressive, and they fought a fierce battle, especially against the Sonozaki family. Although the whole village treated them coldly, the husband and wife didn't really care and kept on fighting. In a way, they were extremely strong-willed people. I'm sure their children had to go through a lot because of them, though. Satoko-chan and Satoshi-kun were treated coldly by the villagers as well. In addition to that, Satoko-chan and her stepfather didn't get along, so their stress levels must have reached their limit. Because I'm the director of the local clinic, a rather respected member of society, people usually tell me a lot of things. So I was aware of the treatment they were receiving even before I met them. I met Satoshi-kun first. Satoshi-kun came to the clinic because he felt ill from too much stress. He must have thought he had a cold. When I examined him, he even told me that. Hearing his repeated sighs and by seeing the exhausted look in his eyes, I knew right away it wasn't just a simple cold. Medication would heal his symptoms, but that'd only be a temporary measure. The only way to truly cure him would be to change his living environment, but that was easier said than done. He was surrounded by tangled and complicated relationships with the village and his family, so just resting for a few days and taking some medication wouldn't do. Time was the only thing that could ease off the cold treatment from the villagers, but we were taking a very, very long time. That's why I felt I had to be the first ally in this village so I could rescue them. I couldn't do anything about this stressful environment, but I could try to diminish the anxiety. So I thought the best way was to teach him how to vent his stress. Playing sports is the best way to do that. I don't know about that. So I asked him to join the junior baseball team that I coach. As a researcher, I devote most of my time to Hinamizawa syndrome, but I too need something else to relax. I used to play baseball, so I decided to coach the local kids team. After a while, the children of Hinamizawa started their own baseball team, and somehow I became their coach. Doctors can't provide health just by giving medication. You need a sound mind and a sound body. I believe health can be maintained through sports as well. But our team needed more people. So I thought of asking Satoshi to join. Being a bookworm, Satoshi wasn't interested in playing sports. He wasn't sure how joining the baseball team would help his situation. I didn't need to go on and on about athletic medicine to explain why sports help people become healthy. I just wanted him to experience it himself, to realize how great it feels to play sports. I think he realized it gradually. He was reluctant until the very end, but he attended all of the team activities and games. As I saw Satoshi-kun slowly regain his liveliness, I realized my plan worked. However, if Satoshi-kun was under that much stress, Satoko-chan, who lived in the same family climate, must have felt the same way. Fortunately, I didn't think of her back then. So when Satoko-chan was carried into my clinic as a patient, I regretted doing nothing about her, even while knowing the situation. As Satoshi-kun recovered, under my guidance, Satoko-chan was left alone in her stressful environment. Also, around that time, there was an incident bad enough to make Satoko-chan collapse. I was, of course, her parents' deaths. The day of the Wadanagashi festival was a very uncomfortable time for the Hojo family, because although it was a village festival, it was also a day to celebrate victory over their dam construction project. It's understandable that they would plan a family trip around that time so they could leave the village. Satoko-chan's parents fell off the cliff at the park they were visiting. It happened on such an unlucky day. Because it happened on the day of Wadanagashi, people said it was the curse of Oyashiro-sama. People labeled the Hojo family as one that was cursed by Oyashiro-sama. The parents were given the cold shoulder by everyone in the village. So with their parents gone, Satoshi and Satoko should have been freed from that, but unfortunately the accident happened on the day of Wadanagashi. That's why the members of the Hojo family continued to be shunned. Satoko-chan was the only one who was at the site of the accident. Satoshi-kun didn't go on the trip because he had an event with the baseball team. Therefore, the police mainly interrogated her. Detective Oishi suspected an act of organized crime by the village, so with Satoko-chan as the only witness on the site, he drilled her with questions. She was as stressed as Satoshi, perhaps even more, so of course she couldn't take it. During the interrogation, she began to wheeze and gasp for air. The anguished look I saw on Satoko's face when she was carried into the clinic was very, very tragic. It broke my heart just to imagine what she had to go through.
監督、Satokoは大丈夫ですか？
ええ、安心してください。一時的に混乱してしまっただけですよ。
会っても大丈夫ですか？
やっと薬でぐっすり眠れたところです。できれば起こさないであげたいところです。しばらくゆっくり休ませてあげましょう。様子を見て数日入院させてあげるのもいいかもしれません。 大丈夫。私に任せてください。
ありがとうございます。
I know Satoshi is a great big brother who truly cares about his sister. He empathizes deeply with her. In other words, Satoshi's worries and stress were reflecting Sotoko herself. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but while Satoshi was of course sad about his parents' death, he may at the same time have been a little relieved that they were gone. His sister wouldn't have been driven into a corner anymore. Unlike Satoshi, Sotoko didn't have the social skills to get along with her stepfather, so putting her mother aside, I was certain that losing her father, the greatest cause of stress in her life, would bring great change to her home environment. But I couldn't believe what happened next. The two were sent to live in an even worse environment with their aunt and uncle. Although at the time I was rather optimistic, thinking this new environment would be better for the siblings. Yep. And the aunt was abusive. Where's... Okay, I don't have that. Even this? Okay. I've wanted to become a doctor ever since I was little. Doctors make a lot of money. People look up to doctors. I think those are the kinds of reasons I had. So when I play with my friends, I always acted like a doctor. I cleaned their wounds and applied ice packs when my friends sprained their ankles, using what I learned from household medicine books. Everyone, including me, believed that I'd be a doctor one day. My family was poor, so they praised me for that goal. They told me that I needed to study a lot to become a doctor, so they borrowed some pseudo-medical books from the local library for me. Rental fees weren't cheap. So I would speed read one book in a day, and the next my parents would go back to the store to exchange it for a different book, saying they accidentally borrowed a book they already borrowed before. By doing so, my parents borrowed 2 books for the price of 1. Of course, now I know those books were rather useless, but they were highly motivational just the same. My neighbors called me Dr. Kyosuke-kun, and I was always picked for class health officer at school. Even my teachers helped me with the classes I need to take to become a doctor. Of course, in reality, becoming a doctor isn't as easy as it might seem. I had to study diligently, and the path was definitely rough. If you become a doctor, one must attend college. Since my family was poor, I was told I wasn't allowed to go to an expensive private school. So I had to be admitted to a national public university. My grades weren't bad, but the admission rate to a national public university is very marginal. Especially since I wanted to go to a medical school, my chances were even smaller. I studied like crazy. My only driving force was my childhood dream of becoming a doctor. The dream of becoming a doctor and to be looked up to by everyone kept me going. I was admitted. It wasn't at the top of the list, but I made it in. I was finally at the starting point of making my childhood dream come true. My parents were thrilled. Neither my father nor mother went to college, so they were proud of their son getting into a public medical school. They invited our relatives over to celebrate. Although it was a public university, tuition wasn't cheap, but they still had an extravagant celebration anyway. My father didn't express his emotions much. He always kept a straight face. He rarely voiced his opinion or took initiative on anything. My mother took care of everything, and he showed up last and left without saying a word. He was the typical stern, silent Japanese father of the time. That's why I was surprised to see him shedding tears of joy, and I cried along with him. He ran around to all my relatives while repeatedly slapping my back, saying how proud and lucky he was to have a son like me. He bragged about my achievements to all that would hear them. The celebration became my farewell party as I was about to leave for Tokyo. My father yelled "Bonsai" repeatedly at the station, and the train pulled away. I was a little embarrassed, but when I could no longer see my father, I could clearly recall the tears pouring down. Days of hellish studying exams began after that. Some days I was tempted to just give up and submit myself to the lavish lifestyle of the city. Letters from my family always encouraged me and gave me the strength to go on. My dream then was to open up my own clinic in my hometown so I could contribute to the region. I never even dreamed of getting involved with brains. One day I noticed a difference in a letter from my family. The letter said the usual things about how it was at home and asked how I was doing, but the postscript was what caught my attention. Your father has become really violent lately. Sometimes he turns the house upside down and I don't know what to do. I just couldn't picture him acting viciously. I was extremely surprised. Did something happen? But in the postscript, my mother said that there was nothing she could think of. My mother and father had been together for a long time. They'd been together since well before I was born. So she noticed things that I couldn't. She couldn't even think of a reason why my father had become so violent. What happened? They got along so well. They were such a lovely couple. What caused the problem for my mother when I was little and my father only bonked my head with his knuckle? Why was he acting this way towards my mother? Maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding between them. I was going home for the new year. Maybe I could have a good talk with him then. But the situation was a lot more serious than I thought. One cold winter day, I found my apartment door unlocked. I thought someone had broken in, but I found my mother in my apartment with her luggage. That's right. My mother could no longer take my father's fury and came to stay with me. This was back when people still believed in the proverb, a woman has no place to settle down all her life. She couldn't go back to her own family because they lived in the same region as my father, so she came all the way to Tokyo. I heard about my father's violence from my mother's own lips. She cried, saying she had no idea why such a quiet man changed like that. She said she was never going back to him. I didn't know what to do. I asked her if she could talk to him one more time, but the bruises on her body told me it was no use. To remember what happened afterwards is too much, so I'll be brief. After my mother left, my father thought she was having an affair and went over to the neighbor's house with a wooden sword. He was arrested. He was released immediately, but he assumed someone in the neighborhood was hiding her, so he did the same thing repeatedly. He eventually reached the point of getting into fights with anyone he saw. In the end, he picked a fight with some young punks and ended up being beaten to death. Jesus. My relatives gave my father a decent funeral, but my mother didn't attend. It's no use beating a dead horse. So nobody said anything negative about my father, but everyone was simply puzzled as to why he changed so much. What I heard from my relatives about my father's final days was a lot stranger than what I heard from my mother. My mother only told me about the situation, his sudden rage and violence, but my relatives told me he also laughed and grew sad. Apparently he displayed several sudden fluctuations of emotion, especially so in his last years. They also told me that he started to complain about headaches after an accident he had. My father was a construction worker. He had hit his head hard on a construction board during an accident at work. He regained his consciousness quickly and seemed fine. But since the accident, he started to have headaches and behave abnormally. I sensed a connection between the accident and my father's changes, so I talked to my professor after I went back to Tokyo.
断言はできませんが、その様子から入江君のお父さんに何らかの異常が起こっていた可能性は否めません。その事故の際に脳が傷つき、精神的な変化を起こしたのかもしれませんね。お父さんの晩年の言動からは、そんな患者さんに多く見られるいくつかの症状が伺えます。
Human behavior is created by the brain. If the brain is damaged, it can cause erratic behavior. In other words, my father wasn't crazy, he was suffering from a disorder.
お父さんの遺体を検視できるなら、脳をよく調べてみるといいでしょう。ひょっとすると、腫瘍のようなものが見つかるかもしれません。
My father had already been cremated, so there was no way of knowing. But hearing about his behavior, I knew for sure. That was the only way to explain why such a quiet and gentle man would change. I tried to explain all this to my relatives to regain my father's honor, but hardly anyone understood. If his brain was damaged, he would have been dead. But he was alive and well. The accident didn't damage his brain. It wasn't his brain that caused him to change, it was his mind. They simply brushed it off like that. This is the perception most people have about the brain. They don't realize the mind and the brain are connected. Most of the relatives didn't believe me. But there was one person who I really wanted to anyway. That was my mother. As she got older, she grew senile, and she exaggerated the abuse she's had to endure. All she did was criticize my father. Every time she ended up crying, lamenting that she married him. They were a lovely couple. We were a great family. That's why I wanted to convey to her that she was misunderstanding the situation with my father. My father's behavior was caused by his brain damage. What he did to her was very sad, but he didn't want it to be that way. I told her that he wasn't at fault. But my mother didn't understand. Before she took her last breath, I begged her to forgive my father. But her final words were, "Please don't bury me next to that man." Damn. Harsh. My father wasn't at fault. He was simply the victim of a brain disorder. You don't complain to a person who's coughing because he has a cold. Because coughing is just a symptom, and he should be sympathized with. In my father's case, the symptoms weren't as obvious as a cough. They took the form of changes in personality, which are much harder to recognize. If I had studied the brain more, I could have explained it better to my mother so that she could have understood him. And they could have been a nice couple again in heaven. When I realized that, I cried. And I also realized that there are plenty of people like my father in this world who are suffering from a disorder, yet they are misunderstood and despised for it. And then I found out. I found out about a miraculous cure for such disorders called a lobotomy. Ever since that day, I spent my days learning about the brain so I could help people who are suffering from mental illnesses. My father's gone. If he was still alive, I could cure him myself. So he and my mother would reconcile. That's the main reason why I am here. That's really sad. Yeah, it's strange because the brain is an organ. Okay. Medicine. We don't have that yet. Let me go back. Maybe 2. Carrie must be willing. Repetitive apologies. Oh, when she was saying, I'm sorry. I got it. Ooh. What the fuck?
腐ってる。やべえよ監督返事してくださいよ監督。アホんだら死んでるに決まってんだろうが。
Clang. The loud noise snapped everyone out of it. Someone dropped the shovel he was holding. The shovel was smeared with reddish-black blood. No, not just the shovel. All 6 construction workers' clothes were blood-soaked too. One of them cried out to the silent body of the manager, which was drenched in blood.
監督。
You done fucked up.
死んでるに決まってんだろ。仕方ねえじゃねえか。正当防衛だろ、正当防衛。
The fight had started after the manager yelled at him for drinking beer inside. There was no drinking and no smoking signs everywhere. The manager harshly scolded anyone who broke that rule. So it was the 6 workers' fault for disobeying. But they drank because they were stressed out by the anti-dam protesters. That's why they said things to provoke the manager. That's why they told him to step out and the others went along. The construction workers toiled hard and long hours. That's why they instigated the fight with the manager to release their stress. They expected to just curse at each other and end up in a wrestling match. But things escalated. Or to put it more accurately, the manager exploded all of a sudden. The manager had to deal with the residents' protests as well. He was under just as much pressure, and maybe even more. But how he changed was not normal. The manager was calm at first. He gradually became more aggressive, and it was like he transformed into someone completely different. And it was like he was possessed by something evil. The men who instigated the fight sobered up when they saw his behavior. Then The manager picked up a shovel that was nearby and tried to smash his opponent's head in with it. He managed to avoid the hit, but if he didn't, his head would have surely been split open. The manager kept pounding on him with the shovel, even as he frantically tried to avoid the hits. By this time, the workers had realized this was beyond a simple fight, so they tried to hold the manager down. But the manager turned on them with the shovel too. One of each men tried to protect himself by crossing his arms above his head, but there was no way that could have blocked a shovel swing with such force. Ooh. Blood splurted out and the man groaned in pain. By this time, the 6 men had realized the manager was not his usual self. This manager would try to bash in their brains without hesitation. As their opponent was using a shovel as his weapon, they had to find some kind of weapon too. One of them grabbed a huge hammer. The others realized they needed to find something as well. To restrain the manager in that condition, it was better to arm themselves.
こんなつもりじゃなかったのに。
It didn't take that long for the madness to infect the 6 workers. It was only a matter of time before they went from restraining him to lynching him. By the time they realized what had happened, the manager was already a lump of meat. His face was swollen, shreds of skin had been torn off, and his muscles and skull were visible too. Oh god. Obviously he was quite dead.
ふざけんじゃねえよ。俺たちは殺されかかったんだぞ。こいつが襲いかかってこなけりゃ俺たちだって反撃しなかったんだぞ。なあ。
The leader of the 6, the one who instigated the fight, tried to bring the rest of his side to his side, but nobody replied, so the leader became frustrated. He was the one who started the fight. The rest simply joined in. He was the main perpetrator. Maybe that was why he was feeling so exasperated. He sensed that he was the one at fault.
いつまでもなよなよしてんじゃねえ。仕方ねえだろ。やっちまったもんは仕方ねえだろ。俺たちはな、もう殺人犯なんだよ。覚悟を決めるんだよ。まさかおめえら自首して懲役食らいてえなんて思ってんじゃねえだろうな。冗談じゃねえよ。無茶なんかこの年で言ってられっかよ。隠すんだよ。こいつの死体を隠してすっとぼけるしかねえんだ。
Some of them knew he was on probation for an assault incident once before, so if he got into trouble with the law again, the punishment would be more severe than he could imagine. That was why he was trying desperately to find a way out. If he was alone with the manager's body, then he wouldn't have behaved this way. All he would have to do was hide the manager's body and pretend nothing happened. But there were 6 of them, including him. They were partners in crime and witnesses too. If even one of them turned himself in out of guilt, he'd be in big trouble.
でも死体なんか隠したってそれより正当防衛ってことでちゃんと主張して甘ったれたこと言ってんじゃねえ。これだけズタボロに殺しちまってんだぞ。過剰防衛で済むかよ。親が見たって見分けがつかねえくれいにやっちまってたぞバカ野郎。でもよ、どう隠したって監督がいなくなったのは明日の朝にはバレちまうんだ。どうしようもねえよ。どうしようもねえのはオンドレの頭じゃいボカ。
He slapped the other man in the face. The leader had such an evil look in his eyes.
いいかボケども。俺たちはな殺人犯なんだ殺人犯。ぐずぐず言ってりゃ5年6年食らい込まれちまうんだよ。俺らの中に一人裏切り者がおってみろ。全員が捕まっちまうんだよ。懲役をなめんな。どうせ捕まる覚悟だっちゅうんなら死ぬ気で逃げまくってやるんだ。年貢の納め時になったら好きなだけ覚悟を決めりゃいいんだ。
His visage turned more and more demonic. The same expression the manager had just a few minutes before. Was he possessed by the same thing that possessed the manager? 5 men started to think that way. Now that they considered it, all the villagers in the anti-dam protest had the same expression on their faces too. Real name of Hinamizawa was Origafuchi Village. People said that wicked demons lived there and sometimes they possessed people. The men couldn't help but to recall that exaggerated story often told by the demonstrators. The manager swung the shovel after his expression changed to that demonic one. There was no guarantee this man wouldn't do the same. In fact, he was still squeezing the hammer in his hand, glaring at everyone and threatening them. If someone suggested surrendering, he'd probably smash their head in with it. Oh boy.
隠しやすくなって一石二鳥だぞ。どんな手だい？この野郎の死体みんなで仲良くこのニュースで割り算するんだ。そりゃあ。
Never wanted to object to the idea. Killing him was a serious crime itself. Dismembering the body would be too much. If anybody objected, he'd be killed on the spot. So no one said anything. I'm not sure that's what he meant, but... Five men were all taken in by his ghastly face. You could even feel the fear of the Origafuchi demons creep up their backs. That's what happened. He got more to door-to-doored. Motive to become a doctor. Discontinuation. Dissection. Okay, that's not it. Tragedy at the dam construction site. A live specimen for research. They were talking about the live specimen, but I don't think they found it. Oh, well, I guess that works. I was half asleep, so I didn't even hear the phone ringing nearby. After a while, I finally realized the phone was ringing, and a ringing phone means there's some kind of emergency. Does it, though? It's 2 in the morning. Who would even call me at this time of the night?
もしもし、入江です。
お休みのところ申し訳ございませんわ、入江所長。
It's Takano-san. She's never called me for a personal reason. The institute she's ranked just below me, so she's basically responsible for running it. So for her to call me this late at night, it must be an emergency.
遅くなりました。末期患者が出たというのは本当ですか？
ええ、生きた検体が欲しいと思っていたら本当に運よく。
Initial thought that she'd abducted someone. Man had already been moved to the research area in the clinic's basement. Having been tied down to the examination table, he's struggling against his restraints, but more as though he's deranged than actually resisting. I can't even understand what he's saying. He sounds angry, sorrowful, and like a child throwing a tantrum all at once. It's obvious he's not in the right state of mind.
とにかく麻酔で眠らせましょう。このままでは自分の舌を飲み込んで窒息しかねません。
もう少し状態を観察したかったのですけれど、仕方ありませんわね。
One of the staff with a white gown got the anesthesia ready. Even a normal person would struggle to escape a restraining table in this suspicious room. But this man's behavior is at an abnormal level. Sure, Okonogi-san and his friends at the Mountain Dogs are the ones who captured him. Capturing him in this state of mind couldn't have been an easy task. According to Takano, she ran into this patient on her way home from the clinic by accident. She brought him back here, tested him, and the result came back positive. Of course, I have no intention of disbelieving what she's telling me. But there is no question that this man is at the terminal stage, and a live specimen is exactly what we need to research the symptoms.
一体この男は何者です？
あの男が持っていた新聞の包み、中に何が入っていたと思います？
これは何です？
Ew. Something wrapped in a bloody newspaper on a tray nearby. Looking at the blood newspaper, I can only imagine there is something gruesome inside of it. Takano-san looked like she wanted to surprise me with something interesting.
これはひどい。
It's a bloody right arm. The man on the table still has his. This right arm doesn't belong to him. So who does it belong to? I am used to looking at things like this as a doctor, but the horrible cross-section makes me want to look away. It wasn't done according to a medically accepted method, that's for sure. It was obviously done out of cruelty.
状況から考えて、この男が切り取ったものと考えていいでしょうね。
つまり彼は近隣で起こった何らかの死体遺棄事件の犯人ということですね。
At the point, there was no way of knowing who the right arm belonged to. The next morning, the dismemberment murder of the dam construction site director was reported. And they mentioned that his right arm was still missing, so we learned who the arm belonged to.
この男、前科者だそうで、しかもその上、執行猶予期間中だとかにもかかわらず、また罪を犯してしまうなんて、それで殺人の発覚を恐れて遺体を隠そうと思ったのでしょうね。
状況にもよるでしょうが、懲役数年で済むというものではなさそうですね。
入江所長もこんな社会のクズが相手なら解剖に躊躇はないのでは？
社会のクズがさらに犯罪を重ね、さらにその上ひなみ沢症候群で凶暴化したのか、それとも前科を悔いる善良な小市民がひなみ沢症候群で凶暴化して罪を犯したのか、どちらかは分かりません。前者ならともかく後者ならば彼には何の罪もありませんよ。
That's why Hinamizawa syndrome is so terrifying. We can't tell if the syndrome is the cause of the crime or if it's simply a problem of human nature. It causes a defect of human nature in the first place. That was precisely Irie's area of research. Hate the crime, not the criminal. Can criminals only be corrected by punishing them with imprisonment? A person commits a crime because of a mental disorder, but then he gets treatment, he is corrected. In other words, there are no crimes in this world, only patients awaiting treatment without anyone else being able to understand them. In medieval times, patients with mental disorders were said to be possessed by demons, and they were either confined or killed. Centuries after, they were finally acknowledged as mentally ill people who needed treatment. Perception can change with time. Even if they are called criminals now, maybe after several centuries, those criminals will be acknowledged as patients who are entitled to appropriate treatment. Explaining crimes through illness instead of malice. That's my life's work. Hinamizawa syndrome is a strange disease that can support my theory. Solving its mysteries is extremely important to me. Solve the mysteries, I need a medical sacrifice. It's an extremely sinful thing to do, but there's no way to unravel this without it. The Irie Institute was authorized to take such drastic measures if necessary. That's why I was asked to do it so many times that when I accepted the position of director. Finally, the opportunity is here. This will be the first step of our research on this strange disease. But even now, I'm a little hesitant. I've opened up human bodies in many surgeries. What I'll be doing on this man is something very similar. But there's also something that's very different. What I did before was part of treatment. I did it to save the patients' lives. I did it so that the patients could have a better future. What I'm trying to do here isn't treatment. He will die at the end of it. His death will be far from humane. I'm going to violate nature and force him to stay alive while I open up his living brain.
入江所長、聞いてらっしゃいます？
ああ、すみません。もう一度お願いします。
解剖計画書を提出し、東京に応援を要請した方が良いかと思います。何しろ単に生きてるだけでなく、末期症状を起こしている大変貴重な検体ですもの。慎重な解剖が求められますわね。
そうですね、おっしゃる通りです。そのようにしましょう。
それまでに数日の猶予があると思います。そこで麻酔を解いていくつかの反応実験をしてみたいのですが。
危険ではありませんか？たとえ拘束を解かなくても何が起こるか分かりませんよ。
ようやく手に入った生きのいい検体なんですもの。ただ脳を覗くだけじゃもったいないですわ。
This unusual cheerfulness made me feel odd. Maybe her reaction is normal. Maybe I'm the one who's not reacting normally in this situation. No, she's psycho. No, you're right. You're right. I'm here only for the research, so I should be excited to have the opportunity to perform our first live dissection. But I'm still hesitant. How can I call myself a researcher? Researchers of the past were brave enough to cross the line, and that's how they accomplish many things. I've seen many brains, I've operated on them. I've lost some patients too. But I never thought anything of it because I knew I did the right thing. Even when my hard work was denied afterwards. It pained me to think that, then I just needed to advance the field of medicine to ensure their deaths weren't wasted. That's the true form of those advancing the field of medicine. Yet why was my heart tormented so much just by changing the name of treatment to dissection? Does it mean I'm not man enough to emulate those great men of the past who opened the doors to new medicine? That I don't have the power to develop new advances myself?
あら、どうなさいましたの、所長。お休みのところを無理に起こしてしまったので、ご気分が優れませんのかしら。
Takano is pretending to be concerned about me, but she knows. She knows I'm still hesitating. She's telling me that I should be ashamed as a researcher for feeling that way. I shook my head to clear it out of sleepiness. Remember the resolve that brought me here to this day. I already have blood on my hands. If I stop now, their lives will be wasted. Those who shed their blood can only rest in peace once they become the cornerstones of great research. I shook my head once more and reminded myself that I'm a researcher.
いえ、考え事をしていただけです。高野さんは東京との調整をお願いいたします。日程が決まりましたら教えてください。
ええ、了解いたしましたわ。眠気も吹っ飛んでしまいますわね。
The least I can do is my best so his life won't be wasted. If he bleeds, I can't waste even a drop of his blood. For scolding my staff for their indiscretion of discussing the dissection with such excitement, I returned to my office. Interesting. Okay. I am actually going to take a break and get some food and use the bathroom, get some more water, all of the things. But we'll be back, and I'm planning to go through and hopefully at least get through all these fragments, depending on how much energy I have today. So we'll see. But I'll be back soon. Let's see. Here we go. Satoshi is a good brother who takes care of his sister. He went to visit Stoko-chan right after school and kept encouraging her to get better every day. Without even hearing Satoshi's stories, it's obvious to me that Stoko-chan never had a good relationship with her step-parents. She essentially didn't get along with her stepfather. Stoko-chan even called a child abuse hotline once. Hello, good afternoon. Not only that, her parents ended up dying in an accident, so I can't read that fast! So she just wasn't able to withstand all that damage. Stoko is still very young, so everything must have been horrible for her to go through. Fortunately, she had a wonderful brother. Emotional wounds are hard to heal. Nothing heals those wounds better than love from family members. I'm sure that one day Satoko will be able to smile again. She's still in shock, but when she talks to Satoshi, she smiles a little bit. Higurashi from the police department keeps requesting to see her, but I think I need to protect her for just a little longer. While he's passionate about his job, I wish he'd be a touch more sensitive. If he reminds her of her parents' incident, her emotional wounds will start to open again. It's the one point I worry about with Satoko. I heard someone knock on the door. It was Takano-san. It doesn't look right wearing a nurse's uniform like that. She's a licensed doctor, she should wear a white coat and act like one. Maybe this is fun for her, but I think she might be insulting the real nurses. I didn't say anything, though.
入江先生、ちょっとよろしいですか？
ああ、はい。それではサトシ君、私は失礼します。
あ、はい。
サトシ君、こんにちは。サトコちゃんと遊んであげててね。ずっと一人でいるからきっと寂しいと思うのね。
そんなことございませんわよ。
ではサトシ君、よろしくお願いします。
I got up and let Satoshi take over.
ところで何かありましたか？
ここではなんですので、所長室で。
Yeah, I just had foodies myself. Takano-san smiled meaningfully. Usually smiles bring happy feelings. When it comes to Takano-san, that's rarely the case.
それは本当ですか？
ええ。簡易検査の結果、レベル3以上と思われる高い発症レベルの可能性が指摘されました。彼女をさらに入院させ、より精度の高い検査を行う必要があります。結果待ちですが、私の見たところ、レベル4の可能性すらあり得るかと。
Takano's eyes sparkled in a weird way. There's a reason for that. For us, finding patients in the terminal stage is a valuable boon to our research. In fact, as a result of dissecting the murder suspect from last year, we've made great progress in our research. In other words, we finally managed to isolate the pathogen. We also discovered that when the host dies, the pathogen melts away within a few hours. Once that happens, it's undetectable. That's why we never found the pathogen when we performed autopsies. Our research made a lot of progress after that. We found in this past year has easily surpassed what the late Dr. Takano found in decades. We're now studying the nature, the effect, and the symptoms of the pathogen, as well as treatments and vaccines. In other words, a living specimen who's at the terminal stage is a necessity for our research. However, we rarely find a patient who's gone that far, who's reached L5. Hinamizawa syndrome once created huge numbers of L5 patients, but today it doesn't have such potency. Because of that, we have to secure L5 patients or patients who are close to reaching L5 as quickly as possible. Stoko possibly qualifies to be that next sacrifice. To keep this strange disease a secret, we can't let patients who may be L5 go. We have to run more tests first. Then we'll figure out what to do next. In any case, Satoko seems so calm. Her behavior is nothing like the man from last year. Initial tests are in error sometimes. We'll have to wait for the results of more detailed tests to determine how serious her condition is.
わかりました。
経過観察のため入院ということにしましょう。スタッフの皆さんへの手配をお願いいたします。
That sounds like a formal answer, but if the results come back positive, that will be the green light for her dissection. I don't know Satoko that well, but I've known her brother Satoshi through the baseball team for a long time. How could I dissect the apple of Satoshi's eyes? I can feel scary images flashing in my head for the first time.
ご安心を。万事すでに手配させておりますわ。
He smiled as if telling me that the dissection is already being prepared for, too. Is it just her who's smiling? Am I smiling like her, too? Nah, she's just psycho. When I dissected that man last year, I did feel guilt beforehand. Once I started, it was like I was in paradise. All the pieces of the puzzle that were left by the late Dr. Takano fell into place, and at the same time they didn't. How exciting it was, knowing that they were the first ones to take the first steps to solve a mystery, that is. I don't even know how to explain this feeling to those who have never experienced it. There's no way to describe it with words. The only thing I can say is that even a year later, I still remember it vividly. So if the results show that Satoshi's beloved sister is to be dissected, can I control myself? Can I stay calm? But that means I'm a failure of a human being. I know very well that the Hojo family was treated poorly by the villagers, and I know what Satoko had to go through. Also, I know Satoshi loves his sister, who is his one and only blood relative. How can I dissect Satoko using my research as an excuse? I didn't feel much guilt for the man from last year, but I feel unbearable guilt towards Satoko. It means what I did last year was very sinful. I don't care if a stranger dies. But I don't want Satoko to die. That's not right. All lives are equally precious. I tried to convince myself that he was a violent murderer. But maybe he only became that way because he was at the terminal stage. I don't know anything about him before he became deranged. Maybe he was a model citizen who was worthy of respect. Unfortunately, he became ill and ended up doing what he did. Maybe he was a victim himself. Just like my father. I know more about Hinamizawa syndrome than anybody. This disease makes people act in bizarre ways, without those people realizing it. When the people at the terminal stage do such strange and violent things, one should be sympathetic. I already know that back when I decided to go down this path. I should have remembered it sooner, but I only did just now. I finally realized what sinful research I'm working on. Satoko's detailed test results came back. Results say L5. She's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage. It's actually a surprising result. In last year's case, the patient was extremely deranged. According to Takano's records, he complained about itching coming from the lymph nodes all over his body and wanted to claw at his throat, just as the late Dr. Takano mentioned. Satoko isn't displaying such symptoms. Even in the late Takano's data, throat clawing is said to be a characteristic symptom of terminal stage patients. However, not all patients experience that symptom. Besides, emotional expression is very different in each person. Even if it's the same emotion, one patient may express it rather violently and another may express it calmly. There's no way of knowing by just looking at a person. Satoko's detailed test results say that she's at the terminal stage, L5. In other words, she may be feeling what the man from last year was feeling. It's just that she isn't expressing that feeling in the same way the man was. Hinamizawa syndrome affects the frontal lobes of the brain. It stimulates the most primitive emotions, doubt, very strongly. As a result, terminal patients are trapped in delusions and paranoia and end up committing horrible crimes. Satoko seems to show improvement when she's exchanging friendly words with Satoshi, but there's a paranoia stirring inside her that may put her in a deranged state at any moment. I can't let her leave the clinic like this. However, if things go according to the manual, I will have to make a decision on her dissection. My decision will only be a formality. I can't actually refuse. Takano's appears to be already working on the dissection schedule. Plan will then come to me. Would I feel the same way while dissecting Satoko? Would I be able to experience that trance once again? No, the question is, can I fight the temptation? As I pretend to question myself, I'm letting Takano prepare things on her own. By doing so, am I passively agreeing to Satoko's dissection? If possible, I want to save Satoko. I don't want her to be a sacrifice for this research. I don't want to dissect her. Then what about the man from last year? Do I only care about the lives of the people I know? If I don't dissect her, do I let her live and leave the clinic? Do I simply wait for her to become deranged and commit a horrible crime? And then she'll end up here, just like the man from last year, and I'll end up dissecting her anyway. The man from last year was dissected alive, and kept that way for several months. Oh, several months! With his skull left open, he wasn't allowed to die for several months. He was kept alive just for her cruel experiments. I don't want to do that to her. I don't know what to do. Even debating and agonizing over it is leading towards consent to her dissection by elimination. Okay, I didn't realize it was months. That's fucked up. I can see like a few days maybe, but months? That's unusual cruelty. Hi. How was the game? Depressing and gory. But also interesting. The discontinuation. I don't think I got this far yet. Okay. There's another one I have to do first. His decision. I don't think I have his decision yet. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so this one is good. Execution order for 30 years course. Just be hit at his first snag. Bat. Oh, the death of the damn strike construction manager. Yeah, he dead now. Okay. Hi, Oishi. What's up, bro? I don't know what to say. I want to say something, but I can't think of the right words. I can only sigh.
Ah, Oishi-san. 探したんすよ。課長から手配写真の。
静かにせい。ここは騒ぐ部屋ではないぞ。
As Kumagai barged into the room, the old coroner quickly snapped back at him.
すみません。ですね。課長が容疑者の手配写真について。
ああ、それ小宮山君に相談してくれませんかね。ちょいと私、じい様と話がありまして。すぐに上がりますと上に言っといてください。
あ、わかりました。
Kumagai ran out of the autopsy room with the same haste he entered in.
賑やかな男だの。
おやっさんだったらやかましいって言ってげんこつの一つも食らわしてるところです。
お前さんも少し上に戻った方がいいぞい。ここの空気は慣れんやつには合わん。
そうですね。あんまりサボってると私もげんこつを食らっちまいそうです。
獅子骨界隈じゃチンピラも避けて通るお前さんをツモの切り方が悪いとげんこつを食らわせてきたのは後にも先にもこいつだけだったの。
容赦のない人だったな。本当の親父よりげんこつもらった気がしますよ。
本当も嘘もないわい。お前さんが本当の親父だと信じてたならこいつも本当の親父だ。
My real father passed away in Nagoya. He was unlucky. If he wasn't given the order to move to a plant in Nagoya, he wouldn't have died in an air raid. If he could have rode it out another half year or so, then the war would have been over. I was sad, of course, but I was grown up enough by then that I didn't cry into the ground like my mother did. People feel sadness in different ways. For some people it comes all at once as an overwhelming wave, but others feel sadness gradually over a long period of time. I think I was the latter. When he was alive, I only thought of him as annoying. In my mind, I even cursed him with questions about why he avoided the draft. Thought my feelings towards him would always be the same. Then the war ended. As I saw families and friends being reunited with joy as they came home from the front, it finally happened. I grieved for my father's death. Japan was filled with people who were sad and full of despair. I knew I wasn't the only one whose life ended up that way. I remembered I was very, very heartbroken. But the war of the nation completely changed. As a policeman, the environment I worked in went through sudden changes too. In order to forget my sorrow, the only thing I could do was devote myself to my work.
私は闇米の取り締まりばかりやらされてましたね。鉄道主要駅で
旅客を抜き打ち検査する。
Illegally?
そりゃもうゾロゾロ引っかかりましたっけ。ゴグラのあたりはこの辺じゃかなりでかい闇市が立ちましたからね。大阪界隈からはるばる買いに来てる連中も大勢いましたよ。
After the war, Japan faced a chronic shortage in food supply. To those ends, the nation instituted a food rationing program by signing the Food Control Act. The rations the government provided weren't even close to being enough to feed families. Therefore, people had no choice other than buying food and supplies on the black market. The government hardly had enough food for rations, but there were somehow plenty on the black market. The dealers there sold it at outrageous prices, and some of them became quite wealthy. The Sonozaki family made their money through that black market, but that's another story. The government didn't bother arresting those dealers. For with their money, they were able to buy off the top members of the police department. Instead, they decided to go after the people buying the goods and even confiscated the rice they bought by selling everything they owned. Jesus. Wasn't there a prosecutor who starved himself to death?
皮肉な事件もありましたね。闇米は一切食わないと公言した判事が餓死したのが昭和22年でしたっけ。ひどい話でした。法律に従ってたら生きていけないことを法の番人である裁判官が自ら示したんですからね。
The prosecutor had grown tired of the government charging people with doing whatever they could to survive. He proclaimed that he was never going to buy black market rice again. In 1947, he starved to death when he was only in his mid-30s. The law prohibited people from buying black market rice, but that was the only way to survive. In that case, was the Food Control Act a bad law itself? Death of the prosecutor was seen as a desperate message to the government about the unjustness of that law.
米の袋を抱えた連中を次々と引っ立てて駅脇の臨時の検問所に並べましてね。まるで戦時法廷みたいな感じなんですよ。次々ポンポンと没収して引っ捕らえていく感じです。ご婦人方はみんな泣かれるんですよ。その米を買うために彼らは家財を売り払ってるんです。
Damn.
それを没収されたら何も残らないと。どうやって飢えた子供たちを食わせればいいのかと。
道理だな。
皆さんも敏感でしてね。
Yeah, that's what's
駅で
fucked
検
up.
問があるかもしれないと察知する。
Because the people aren't at fault. They're literally starving. They don't have any other choice.
そういう連中も逃さんと。私たちは駅近くの飛び降りの名所に重点的に警官を配備しましたね。何十キロもある米袋を抱えたご婦人をよく追っかけましたっけ。
That was when I first met the old man.
いやー、驚きましたよ。私の親父にね、あまりにもそっくりだったんですよ。私はね、てっきり親父は名古屋の空襲を奇跡的に生き延びて帰ってきてくれたんじゃないかって本気で思いましたよ。
I was chasing a man who was running away from the inspection point. There was no way for him to run with a heavy bag of rice on him. So either he'd get arrested with illegal rice or escape by ditching the rice that he bought by selling all of his belongings. In other words, if a person is being chased by the police, that person can't provide his family any rice to eat. Of course, I felt guilty about that. I knew people had to buy the rice to survive. So we had a tacit agreement to let those who ditched the rice and ran get away. So I always thought the same thing as I chased them. Please throw it away. I didn't want them to catch him, because I didn't want to hear him crying and pleading in distress. It was then that the old man showed up. He looked exactly like my dead father. I was dumbfounded. And all of a sudden he punched me in the head. Father disciplines you as a child, you lower your head in apology. I was so happy to see my father alive that I couldn't hold my joy in. The old man said, "Let him go." When I heard his voice, I realized he wasn't my father, so I thought I'd arrest him for assaulting a policeman, but a young man like me, barely grown any hairs yet, was no match for an older man used to fighting.
いや、たっぷり説教をもらいましたよ。大通りの真ん中でぶちのめされた挙句に。普通に考えたらそんなのに耳なんか傾けないですよね。でもあの時の私は どうかしてたんです。どうしてもおやっさんが親父に見えちゃって、おとなしく言うことに耳を傾けることしかできなかったんです。
まあそこで小づいただけじゃなく、男の器量もきっちりと見せられたのがこいつの大したところだったの。今時じゃすっかり珍しくなっちまった。古き良き時代の生き残りじゃった。
By my age, I still needed a father. I needed someone to look up to and to show me what makes a man a man. When I think about it, I really did have 2 fathers. The old man was a father, a brother, my best friend. But now here he lies with his head, body, arms, and legs all dismembered, and his right arm hasn't. Oh shit! He taught me how to be a man, how to enjoy alcohol, how to play mahjong, and with that right arm he gave me a good beating when I did something wrong, but that right arm is still missing. The construction manager guy was his mentor. Oh fuck. That's fucked up. They're running Hinamizawa from the shadows and inciting this collective crime they call the Dam Protest, the Sonozaki family. I declare war within myself. I already know who my enemy is. No wonder he doesn't like Hinamizawa very much. And why he's so driven to, like, stop the curse and everything. Well, damn, that puts things more into perspective. Quite a little. Quite a little, quite a lot. C-17. No. Awareness of his sins now. Detailed test results. Do I have those now? I think so, yeah. A group of boys are playing baseball under the powerful sun. The sound of cicadas makes the heat stand out even more, but to those boys it's just another kind of cheering from the crowds. Of course, they go through training exercises to build stamina, but the boys don't actually like such routine activities. What they look forward to most is the free game after practice. School in Hinami is always actually borrowed from the forestry service. The schoolyard is made up of gravel, so it's not very appropriate for playing sports on. Compared to that, the grounds at the school in Okinomiya are properly maintained for athletic abilities, so the kids grow even more energetic when they come here. Kids from Hinamizawa really don't care if the ground is made of gravel or not. The other instructor is watching the game, so I decided to get some drinks for the team.
監督、どこへ行くんですか？
皆さんにジュースを買ってこようと思いまして、もしよかったらサトシ君も手伝ってくださるととても助かるのですが。
はい。お手伝いします。
So she decided to come along with me. Sometimes kids don't like when grown-ups choose, so I'm glad he agreed to help. Satoshi and I got into the car and headed to the grocery store nearby.
監督、聡子の具合はどうなんですか？
ええ、経過は良好ですよ。本当にゆっくりとですが、聡子ちゃんの心の傷も癒えてきています。もう少しだけ安静にしてあげた方がいいでしょう。
It's natural for Satoshi to be worried. Satoko has been in the hospital for over 2 weeks. Wow. Of course, he doesn't know his sister has Hinamizawa syndrome. Not only that, she's almost at L5. She could come deranged at any moment. He believes she's depressed because of the shock of their parents' accident. He came to the clinic every day to cheer his sister up. Satoko has become emotionally unstable and was showing some dangerous symptoms, so he called off the visits. In fact, Satoko is not doing so well. The stage Satoko is at is a very abnormal one. The man from last year who was at the same stage was acting so abnormal that even a drunk addict in his final stages would have turned and ran. There's no guarantee Satoko won't fall into the same condition. When we performed the autopsy on the man last year, we learned that the true identity of the syndrome and gained a great understanding of its mechanisms. We even discovered some important facts that may lead to the development of a cure. However, we have yet to find a method of actually curing the disease. So if Satoko becomes unrecoverable, we may have to dissect her just like we did the man from last year. How can I tell Satoshi about his sister's situation? All I can do is make vague comments and lie to him that she's recovering. What if she becomes much worse? That would make me an unforgivable liar. The tiny bit of conscience that remains in me hurts.
もし 監督の診療所のご迷惑でなければ、もうしばらく入院させてもらった方がいいかもしれません。
それはどういう意味ですか？
Thought he wanted her to come home as soon as possible, so I'm a little surprised.
いえ、実は聡子、あまりおばさん一家とも馴染めていないんです。
聡子ちゃんがご両親とあまり良い関係ではなかったと聞いていましたが、新しく預けられたおばさん夫婦ともなのですか？
聡子は大人にはあまり心を開かないので。
Satoshi had told me about their family background. Their mother's constant remarriages wounded her children deeply. Satoshi was able to overcome it, but Satoko was too young to be able to do that. It left her traumatized, and she now has the tendency to distrust or dislike guardians who aren't related to her. Actually, nobody would like a guardian who isn't related to them. It's not just Satoko. But usually people try to deal with that, even if they don't like it. I guess Satoko's not capable of that.
おじさんはあまり家に帰ってこないし、いても寝てるかテレビを見てるかなのでそんなに問題はないんですが、おばさんがものすごく聡子に絡むんです。
どうしてそんなに嫌われてしまったんでしょうね。
I can guess why. Satoko's parents were damn proponents, and because of that, the villagers consider the aunt and uncle part of the Hojo family and ostracize them as such. Moreover, they passed away suddenly in an accident and left 2 children behind, so I guess there would be more hate there than gratitude. If she had been obedient like Satoshi, everything would have been fine. Satoko can't be that way. She shows that in her attitude and expressions, which leads to her and her aunt having a big fight.
僕もおばさんに聡子の事情を説明してはいるのですが、なかなか分かってもらえなくて。
その度に聡子ちゃんをかばってあげるサトシ君はお兄さんの鏡だと思いますよ。今や聡子ちゃんにとって唯一の肉親はサトシ君だけなのかもしれませんからね。
そうですね。そんな気がしてます。
Satoshi could said with a slight hint of a sigh. He doesn't say it, but it seems Satoshi has grown tired of having to cover for Satoko every time she and her aunt fight. He's a good person, as well as a good big brother. So I'm sure he'll do anything to cover for his sister, but that's a very exhausting thing to keep doing forever. Satoshi was already doing that when their parents were alive. Eventually his mental equilibrium couldn't handle the strain. He grew sick and he visited my clinic. I thought his circumstances might have improved after their initial cause. His parents were gone. Seems things were even worse than before.
わかりました。そんな状況で聡子ちゃんを退院させたらまた心の症状
I know
がぶり返
absolutely
してしま
nothing
うかも
about
しれ
Elder
ませんね。
Scrolls,
入院
but
費のことは
I hope you
気
enjoy
にしない
it?
でくださ
Question
い。
mark?
聡子ちゃんが本当の意味で回復するまで私が責任を持ってお預かりします。
While trying to pretend I'm listening to his request, I feel a little disgusted at myself for making such selfish excuses. I'll make sure. Takano is working on her dissection plan as we speak.
お願いできると僕も少しだけ助かります。
はい？
いえ、聡子がもうしばらく入院しててくれたら思っただけです。
それはどういう意味ですか？
聡子が帰ってきたらどうせまたおばとそうしたらまた喧嘩や怒鳴り声ばかりの日になって僕もそれに巻き込まれる。聡子はずっと入院しててくれるのが一番僕にとって気楽なことなんじゃ嫌になります。
サトシ君。
Oh, she has a great big brother who always sticks up for his little sister. But that doesn't mean he doesn't feel burdened.
そんなことを考えてしまうなんて僕はなんて悪い兄なんだろうって思います。そうだと思えば思うほど自分が嫌になって。
Satoshi said, sniffling once. His expression was one of anguish as if truly feeling his own sin. His desire to be a model big brother is putting himself under great pressure. I feel bad for Satoko, but I also feel bad for Satoshi in a different way. As someone who knows the both of them well, I feel that I must be their ally since they don't have anyone else who cares about them. Damn. It's really nice to see more of Satoshi. Because usually you just hear about how great he is and how he protected his sister and, you know, but seeing more of his humanity and that things weren't always so black and white like that is really eye-opening. Okay, what else? What else? Red capsule. Oh. Satoshi's awareness of his sins. Sin around being away. Okay. Let's see. That means I've done these ones already, right? I think so. Risk a serious decision. Deficit Toku's ants. I don't know which ones. She hasn't died yet. Must refuse his visit. I don't think she did that yet. Declaration has happened. Of the medicine. He doesn't have his part-time job yet. Huh. I don't feel like I've seen the Furude stuff yet. Okay. Can't be connected yet. Okay. So what am I missing? The Queen Carrier. We haven't talked about the Queen Carrier yet. I guess I can always just click all of them until one of them. Oh, the ones I've clicked on. Okay. Visits. Okay, not that one. Ah. One of these has to be it. I was gonna say, I don't feel like that happened yet. the shopping trip has happened. The Shinto priest? None of these sounds familiar. A red capsule. I was gonna say we haven't. Okay. Well, it's gotta be something, so I guess I just keep hitting something until... Because I've already... One of these has to be it. Huh? Why that one? Hold on. I don't know how they hit a snag in the research. That doesn't make sense. But, okay. I'll take it, I guess. That very night, the head of the Furude family, the priest, gathered his wife and Rika together for a family meeting. In Hinamizawa, it was tradition for the three families to gather and discuss the village's issues. It was hardly unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and the Kimayoshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out opinions among themselves. However, the Furude family had lost its branch family, so there were only 3 of them left. So until that day, they had never had a family meeting at all.
どうしたんですか、改まって。ひょっとしてダムに関わるお話ですか?
The dam was the most important issue in the village at the moment. The wife naturally assumed the priest wanted to talk about the dam. For him to gather all of them together like that, it must be a huge decision he had to make. Perhaps he was going to talk about joining the pro-evacuation camp.
いや、ダムの話ではない。だが、この村に関わる、いや、この村のご先祖様たちにも関わる、とても大事な問題だ。
Furude family had served in the priesthood of Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village, for generations. So for him, the head of the family, to start out that way, it must be something extremely important. Yet he said it wasn't about the dam, so what could he want to talk about?
私は入婿だ。だから、古出家の本当の血を受け継ぐお前とリカには、よく聞いてほしい。お前たちは、普通の人間ではないのだ。
僕は、お社様の生まれ変わりなのですよ。
リカ、そういうのは口にしてはいけません。あなた、そういう話はリカのいないところでしましょう。それでなくっても、集会所のお年寄りたちがリカに妙なことばかり吹き込んで。
その、お社様の生まれ変わりというのが、どうも。
は？
少し長い話になる。2人ともしばらく黙って私の話を聞きなさい。
The wife had a dumbfounded expression on her face, not knowing what he was going to say, but Rika was completely relaxed, wearing her usual carefree expression. Bree started to talk after his wife calmed down.
この村には大昔からある病気があるのだ。それはこの地にだけある特別な病気、フード病というものらしい。それにはこの村に住む者が全員かかっている。今この村に住んでいる者だけではない。大昔から住んでいたご先祖様たちもみんなずっとこの病気にかかってきたのだ。
そんな。だって私たちはみんな普通に生活していますよ。この村だけの病気なんて聞いたこともない。
落ち着きなさい。その病気はな、 この村にいる限り何も問題はないのだ。だがこの村を出て遠くの地へ行くと発病してしまう。わかるか？
わかるわけないでしょ。何のことだかさっぱり。
お社様のたたりと同じなのです。
Rika said it so calmly while her mother became frustrated.
そうだ。この村から離れるとたたりがあるのと同じなのだ。つまりお社様のたたりだとご先祖様たちが代々恐れてきたのはこの村だけにしかない風土病のせいだったのだ。
そんなことあるわけないです。だって私たちだって時には村を離れることもあるじゃないですか。村の人だって仕事で遠くへ出かける人だっているし、海外に出かける人だって。
うん。それは長い長い時間を経て病気が徐々に弱まってきたかららしい。だからこのままさらに長い時間をかければ消えてなくなってしまうものだったのだ。だがそれがダム戦争のせいでおかしくなったらしい。ダム戦争で今村中が熱に浮かされたように興奮している状態にあるのはみんなも分かっているだろう。そういう興奮状態や情緒不安定な状態はこの病気を悪化させてしまうらしいのだ。
よく話が分かりませんけど、つまりこの大昔からたたりだと呼んできたものは全てその病気の仕業だとおっしゃるんですね。
そうだ。お社様の作った決まりは全てこの病気から村人を守るための決まりだったのだ。
そんな、それじゃお社様は神様ではなく病気が正体なんですか？そんなこと古出家代々のご先祖様たちに説明できますか？
落ち着きなさい。お社様の信仰は変わらない。お社様がひなみ沢を見守ってくださることに何の変わりもない。お社様のたたりを再現する病気がこの村には大昔からあったということ、それだけなんだ。
そんなのは認められません。そんなこと亡くなった先代や先々代に説明できますか？古出家数百年の伝統に対する、いえお社様に対する冒涜です。そんなことをあなたに吹き込んだのは誰ですか？失礼極まりない。大地、そんな変な病気が実在するという証拠があるんですか？
ある。
それはどんな？誰が？
厚生省と国立感染症予防研究所の方からだ。病原体もすでに特定され、現在治療方法などを研究している最中だという。先週実際にその資料や標本などを見せてもらった。厚生省の方はこの病気をひなみ沢症候群と呼んでいるらしい。
そんな。
ひなみ沢症候群は普通に生活している分には何も影響のない無害なものらしい。だがひなみ沢を遠く離れたり精神や情緒が不安定になったりすると発病しやすくなるという。発病すると妄想などに取りつかれ、最悪の場合異常行動に出ることもあるらしい。この病気は戦争中に発見されたんだそうだ。戦地でひなみ沢の兵隊だけ異常な病気を起こすことがあるのに、偉い学者の先生が気がついて研究がずっと進められてきたんだという。その辺の話はだいぶ詳しくしてもらったんだが、難しい内容だったので私の口からはこれ以上うまく説明できん。もし私の説明では納得できんというなら、お前も直接話を聞いてみればいい。私だって最初は何をバカなことを、お社様を冒涜する気かと憤慨していたのだから。その病気を研究するために入江診療所が作られたというんだ。あそこは表向きはただの診療所ということになっているが、実際は病気を調べるための隠し研究所らしい。
秘密で研究しているなんてうさんくさいじゃないですか。それも厚生省がやっていることなら堂々とやればいいじゃないですか。
いや、そうはいかんらしい。この病気の実態を把握しないまま存在するという事実だけが不十分な知識で広まってしまったら、 病気を持っている人たちはもちろん無関係の人々も勘違いした差別を受けることになる。ひなみ沢の人間は皆怪しげな病気にかかっていて、そのせいでとんでもないことをするかもしれないなどという噂が日本中に知れ渡ったら大変だ。厚生省もそのことを心配していて、この病気については厳重に伏せた上で治療を目指すらしい。勘違いするな。私たちを見せ物にするというんじゃないぞ。この病気を根絶させ、この村を病気から解放しようとしているのだ。自給自足ができていた大昔ならともかく、現代では村から一歩も出ずに生活など成り立たん。村から出るだけで発病するかもしれない病気など、村人にとってどれほど危険なものかわかるだろ。繰り返しになるが、昨今反ダム戦争で村全体が強い興奮状態にあって、ひなみ沢症候群にとって非常に良くない状態にあるらしい。
もし村人がおかしくなって大変なことをしたら、きっとマスコミがパシャパシャでいっぱいなのです。
そうだ。そうなったからでは手遅れなのだ。
そんな、いきなり言われても信用できませんわ。本当に相手は国の人？変な詐欺に騙されてるんじゃないですか？
信用できんのも無理はない。先方は研究所はいつでも見に来ていいと言っている。私はもう見せてもらっているが、あれは詐欺とかそういうレベルではない。ゴグラの大病院でもあんな大掛かりな設備はないぞ。お前も私の話に納得できないなら、研究所で詳しい話を聞かせてもらうといい。私よりもっと詳しく説明してくれるだろう。向こうは研究所の説明でも納得できないなら、東京の国立研究所で説明してもいいし、厚生省の本庁舎で直接説明してもいいと言っている。
でも信じる信じないは別にして、それが私たちにどういう関係があるんです？
古出家は代々お社様の血を受け継ぐと言われている。そして8代続いて女子が生まれれば、その8代目はお社様の生まれ変わりであるとも。
そうですわ。私が7代目、理科が8代目。でもそれとその病気に何の関係があるというんです？
このひなみ沢症候群という病気はある種の寄生虫によるらしい。虫といってもものすごく小さい。人の目には決して見えんくらいに。その虫たちには親分格がいるというのだ。
まさかそれが古出家だとおっしゃるんですか？
その親分格の寄生虫は代々古出家の直系だけに受け継がれるらしい。つまり先代はお前、今は理科だ。
バカバカしい。そんな話やっぱりおかしいですわ。大体ですね、寄生虫なんてそんな気持ち悪いもの。
だから落ち着きなさい。私では説明が下手だ。専門の人に説明を受けなさい。そして彼らが言うには、この病気の治療を研究するためには親分格の研究が不可欠だというのだ。
嫌です。そんな怪しげな研究まっぴらごめんですし、理科だってそんな研究には関わらせません。
だから落ち着きなさいというのに。彼らの研究ではひなみ沢症候群は村から離れると発病するのではなく、親分格から離れると発病するということらしいのだ。お前も小さかった頃、村人から陣痛力があると言われていたことがあるだろ。遠方に出かけ片頭痛などにかかったお年寄りがお前に払ってもらうとたちまち頭痛が消えたという陣痛力。それこそが親分格の証拠でもあるというのだ。フルデの血には発病者を救う力がある。それを研究するのは治療薬を見つけるためにもとても重要なことなのだそうだ。
僕を研究すると村のみんなが助かるのですか？
先方はそう言っている。
その病気は村の全員がかかっているのですか？ 僕もみんなもさとこも。
うん。村に住む人間全員だけでなく、沖宮に住む親類なども全て含むそうだ。多分何千人という規模になるだろう。それだけの大変な病気だから、厚生省がわざわざたくさんの予算を投じて専門の研究所を作ってくれたのだ。
私は反対です。リカをそんな怪しげな研究の生贄にするだなんて。
僕はいいのですよ。僕が生贄でさとこが助かるなら全然平気なのです。
リカは黙っていなさい。とにかく絶対反対です。あなたにそんな妙なことを吹き込んだ人たちには私が直接会ってはっきりとお断りをします。リカを変な実験で殺されてたまるものですか。大体リカはフルデ家のたった一人の跡継ぎなんですよ。もしものことがあればフルデの血はここで絶えてしまうかもしれないじゃないですか。あなたはもっとですね、フルデの家のことを考えていただかないと。そんなだから村の人たちに日和見主義とかなんとか言われて、大体おかしいじゃないですか。建設省は村をダムに沈める、厚生省は村の病気を治す。何が何だかさっぱりわからないです。
厚生省はこの病気は環境の変化で大変発病しやすいと警告していて、建設庁に対しダム計画を中止するよう働きかけてくれているそうだ。だからお前も研究所を見せてもらいなさい。あれだけの大設備をダム湖に沈むかもしれない土地に建てるわけがない。
Rika let out a big yawn. It was long past bedtime for a little girl like her.
僕はもう寝ますです。父さん、僕はいつでも協力するとその人たちに言っておいてくださいなのです。
リカ、そんなことお母さんに断りなく勝手に決めちゃいけません。リカ、待ちなさい。リカ。
I don't remember any of that happening, but must be willing to participate. Okay, so that's what that one is. Researching Hinamizawa syndrome, there's something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the Queen Carrier, the village will collapse. In this article, my grandfather called it the most dangerous situation. According to my grandfather, if the Queen Carrier dies, all the infected persons will go terminal within 48 hours. This may sound unbelievable at first, but research on the collapse of past local religious and group suicides around the world should indicate that there's some truth to it. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to Hinamizawa syndrome. Grandfather picked a few cases that are very similar to the syndrome and investigated them. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of entire communities losing their minds after the death of a religious leader or founder and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that on average it happened within 48 hours. It's clear that infected people are affected by the Queen Carrier, and the condition of the Queen Carrier is in fact affecting the entire village. Our statistics already proved that on weeks Rika felt sick and visited the clinic, we saw an exceptional high number of visitors. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something particularly bad happened to her, we'd be facing a serious situation within 48 hours. As by Irie Institute has to protect Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier, it's the most important mission of the Hinamizawa Syndrome Research Project. She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful not to put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life is equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers, but what if something happens to her by accident? Irie Institute must prepare for that situation. That's why I worked on the draft of an emergency manual when the Irie Institute was first established. It's a precaution in case the Queen Carrier dies, or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the Queen Carrier. It's an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of the acute symptoms. The final measure is to prevent damage from spreading to nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. My client, the Alphabet Project, took the responsibility of working out the details of the plan. They are used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they ended up being a big help. No way I could have come up with a plan on my own to execute 2,000 villagers. Through a dummy company, the ground SDF has secured a closed quarry in the Higurashi region upstream to Hinamizawa. It's to be a secret storage base for our equipment we use in that operation. Equipment that sprays deadly gas that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored here. In case of emergency, a special unit in the ground SPF is to use this equipment to destroy the village. However, preparing for the execution of the villagers itself is politically dangerous. If I'm going to insist on them getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous Hinamizawa syndrome is and also how urgent the need to have a contingency plan. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them enough data. The files my grandfather kept intact came in quite handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised to see how catastrophic things could be in the worst-case scenario.
つまり女王である一人の少女に何かがあれば村人2000人以上が全員錯乱するということなのですね。
はい。ひなみざわ症候群に極めて類似するいくつかのケースでは集団自殺を示すものが少なくありませんが、ひなみざわ症候群の場合、強い疑心暗鬼や過剰なまでの危機意識から何かの過剰防衛を行う可能性があり、被害は感染者2000人にとどまらないものと推定されます。それらは無政府状態の暴動から始まり、猟奇的なあるいは宗教的終末感にも似た異常な状況を作り出すでしょう。これに対する事前の鎮圧策を用意しなかった場合、世界の注目を浴びることは避けられません。また、その猶予は事態発生から48時間しかありません。
つまりいざことが起こったらもう誰にも防げないということですな。
感染者全員を48時間以内に全員治療することは不可能なのかね。
無理だろう。それに治療方法すら確立していないし、研究所の規模では村人全員の救済は物理的に不可能だ。しかしこのような恐ろしく珍しい病気があるとは世の中わからんもんですな。
常に最悪の事態に備えることは国防にも通じますし、我々アルファベットプロジェクトの理念でもあります。そして使うことが目的なのではなく、備えることそのものが寛容なのです。
確かにおっしゃる通りですな。運用規定については決済区分の強化などまだ検討したいところはありますが、最悪の事態に対応する準備が必要だということは理解できました。
都市沈黙船の研究班にひなみざわ地区沈黙船のシミュレーションをさせましょう。これは至急行われる必要があると思います。こうしている間にも女王感染者の少女が車にはねられて死んでしまう可能性だってあるのですから。高野さんさ、ありがとう。また質問しますので着席してくださって結構です。
Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost all day to explain it to them, but it only took a short time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles out of hand. And the files they are reading today are the very same shameful articles those haughty authorities left their footprints on as they trampled them on my grandfather's heart. But they aren't ridiculing the articles. They are reading what was once rejected. It's nothing big at a glance, but in this moment my grandfather's research is being recognized for the first time. My heart is filled with satisfaction to see people discussing amongst each other while pointing to the grandfather's files and raising them as proof. I worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven, can you see this? I still don't know how the instructions for the kidnapping thing happened, because I didn't read any of that, but I don't know what the snag was. But oh well. Let's go back to 1, and then just go around. This results, decision. Because mother's suspicion is required. Okay. So that's something else. Is this one I've done? Or not done?
フルデさん、お待たせしました。
No, I have not done this one.
今、最後の検査を終えたところです。もうすぐ戻ってくると思います。
娘が村のために役に立てばいいのですが。
とんでもない。リカさんの協力は村を救うことにもなります。おかげでようやく治療方法にも目処がついてきたところです。仕組みはまだ調べているところですが、リカさんの存在がやはり村人にとってとても大切なものであることが分かってきました。レベルの進んでしまった一般感染者は自力ではそのレベルを下げて症状を安定させるのが非常に困難です。ですが女王感染者に接近することで脳内にある種の物質が作られることが分かっています。その物質には鎮静効果があり、また進んでしまった症状のレベルを抑え回復させる力もあるようなのです。この物質を処方できるようになれば治療の強力な決め手となるでしょう。
そうですか。理科にそのような力が。
驚かれるには値しないのでは。フルデの巫女には荒れた心、鬼を鎮める神通力があると代々伝えられているんではありませんでしたっけ。私たちが解明しなくても村の数百年にわたる歴史はすでにそれを知っていたわけですわ。
そうですね。大昔の方の聡明さは時に現代医学から見ても感心させられます。
検査が終わったのです。
リカ、大変だったな。疲れただろ。これで自動販売機でジュースを買ってきなさい。
血をいっぱい抜かれたから補給なのです。
We get took the 100 yen coin that was offered and ran out to the hallway.
本当にリカさんの協力のおかげです。彼女が献身的に協力に応じてくれなければこれほどまでに研究が進むことはありませんでした。
リカは自分の友達もその病気にかかっているということを気にしていて、友達のためにも協力したいと常に言っていました。どうか先生方、リカの心意気を汲んでやってください。
もちろんです。毎週日曜日に貴重な時間を割いていただいているのです。必ずや成果にしてみせます。今後もリカさんに過酷な実験を強いることがあると思いますが、どうかお許しいただければと思います。
彼女に危害を加えることは絶対にありませんわ。彼女はとても大切な身なのです。何しろお社様の生まれ変わりなんですから。
大昔の村人はどのようにしてこの病気のことを知り、フルデ家にその女王の血が流れていることを知ったのやら、ご先祖様たちにはつくづく頭が下がります。
それで実はまた辛いご協力をお願いしなくてはなりません。彼女の脳脊髄液の採取のご許可をいただきたいのです。また場合によっては彼女の頭蓋に線香を開け直接頭部の中を検査させていただくことになるかもしれません。
頭蓋骨に穴ですか？
もちろん安全性には最大限注意します。リカさんはたった一人しかいない女王感染者なのです。間違っても危害を加えることがないよう私どもで最も安全な方法を模索した上で提案させていただいています。
もちろんリカちゃんは女の子ですもの。頭部先行周辺の頭髪には気を使いますので丸坊主にしてしまうようなことはありません。ただ経過を慎重に見るためにしばらく入院をしてもらうことになりますが。
もちろんその間面会謝絶ということはありません。検査にもぜひ立ち会ってください。お父さんが身近におられた方がリカさんは安心するでしょう。
その検査はどうしても必要なもので、
脳脊髄液の採取も頭蓋の選考もどちらも 100% の安全を保証することはできません。常に 1% の危険があります。またリカさんに身体的あるいは精神的苦痛を与えるでしょう。いくら重要な検査といえどもご家族の同意なしには行えません。
リカちゃんには実はもう同じ話をしていますわ。
リカはなんと？
自分は構わないと、それはもうあっけらかんと
リカさんには危険や苦痛が伴う可能性があることをもちろん十分に説明しています。ですがやはり保護者の方の承諾をいただかないわけにはいきません。
リカは自分のことを本当にお社様の生まれ変わりだと信じている時があります。だから村人のために自分の身を捧げるのが自分の義務だと思っているところがあるのかもしれません。
立派なお子さんだと思います。
一応家内とも相談させてください。納得はしてくれているのですが、やはりことがことなので話をしないわけにもいかない。
ええ、ご家族の同意は不可欠だと思います。よくご相談なさってください。
その検査は病気の根絶のために重要な意味があるのですね。
はい。ひなみ沢症候群のベールを剥ぐ決定的なものになるでしょう。
決定的なものの第一歩にですわね。
すでにご説明しておりますように、女王感染者に万一のことがあった場合、感染コミュニティに致命的な崩壊をもたらす危険性が予見されています。平たく申し上げると、村人全員が突如として末期発症を起こす可能性もあるということです。
急性発症の平均から見て、女王感染者死亡から48時間以内に全感染者が末期発症を起こします。それだけは絶対に防がなくてはなりません。
リカが死ぬようなことがあれば村中が大パニックに陥って恐ろしいことに。
はい、それを防ぐのも私たちの役目です。そのために危険を冒さなければならないのはとても皮肉なことですが、
入江先生、必ずその検査を成功させていただけますか？
ですから医学には 100% や絶対などという。
ええ。
Great answer, but they're not interrupting Takano's vague response.
私入江京介が命を懸けて必ずやリカさんを救います。村人も救います。絶対にです。
わかりました。家内と相談させてください。その上で後日改めてお返事させていただきます。
はい、よろしくお願いいたします。
Again, her father left talking and started to laugh.
どうしましたか？何か愉快なことでも？
いえいえ、患者とご家族から律儀に事前承諾を取られていたのがなんだかおかしくって。
リカさんには本来無用の苦痛を強いています。それくらいは最低限の礼儀だと思いまして、去年の男も正常な状態にあれば事前承諾を取りたかったところです。
入江所長はここの研究を始められてからずっと罪の意識に苛まれているのではありません？
それはどういう意味ですか？
This type of teasing was normal from Takano, but maybe she had gone a little too far. Iri made it clear how displeased he was to hear that.
ひなみ沢症候群の研究は生きた検体を裁くことでしか進められない。それが分かってなおあなたはこの研究を進めることに罪の意識を感じている。
罪の意識は必要です。殺人であれ解剖であれ、相手に死を強いる点で変わりません。私たちはその罪を受け止めて、なおその死を無駄にしないために最大限の努力と研究を重ねなくてはなりません。
ご高説ですわね。では入江所長、あなたはこれまで人の脳を切り取ることに何度の事前承諾を取られたというんですの？
I didn't think Takano knew about that.
あなたの人の罪は脳の疾患によるものという独りよがりで、一体何人の患者が事前承諾なく脳を切除されたんですの？
それは。
常識は時代で変わる。当時は医者が治療をいちいち説明することなどなかったし、事前承諾なんて大したものではなかった。だから当時のことは気にしなくていいんじゃないですかしら。今は倫理上問題があっても当時は問題なかった。ならばいいじゃありませんの。でもそれに罪を感じているから、リカちゃんやあの男にさえも事前承諾が取りたかった。
それは誤解です。そもそも治療と解剖では患者。
ねえ坊や、あなたが欲しいのは事前承諾という名の免罪符、そうでしょ？あなたが欲しいのは過去の罪をあがないたいという心を満たすだけの欺瞞、そのためだけの免罪符。後悔しているならば二度と脳に関わらなければいい。なのにだらだらと後悔しながら、あなたはいつまでも未練がましくこの世界で脳に関わっている。その罪の意識が本物なら、あなたはあの時所長就任の話を断ればよかったはず。そうでしょう、坊や。
とても深いです。私は失礼させていただきます。
聞きなさい。医学は常にその時代の倫理や価値観との戦いから勝ち取られる。かつて高野先生がひなみ沢症候群の存在を予見した時、その時代の権威たちは自分たちの無知を棚に上げ、その先見性を嘲笑った。でも病に倒れる直前まで研究を捨てなかったわ。必ず自分がいつか評価される日が来ると信じて、そしてその日が自分の死後であったとしても必ず来ると信じて、それは強い信念と揺らぎのない鉄の意志があるから成し遂げられること。そうでなければ時代の無理解に高野先生は屈していたはず。研究はね、意志の力で成し遂げるのよ。絶対的に強固な意志だけが結果を紡ぎ出す。でもあなたにはそれがない。あなたは自分の実績を誇るべきか恥じるべきかすら自分で決めかねている臆病者よ。そんな中途半端な覚悟でよくこのような研究所の所長を引き受けられたものね。血塗られた両手をさらに血に浸すことでしか明かせぬ研究だと最初から分かっていたはずなのに。
否定はしません。私は中途半端かもしれない。
ならば所長を辞任なさっては。守秘義務は残るでしょうけど、あなたはこれ以上罪の意識に苛まれなくて済むでしょう。私にとってあなたはパートナーである以前にクライアントが要求した人事上の駒でしかない。こうして研究機関が成立した今、あなたの存在はもう重要ではないの。しかもその上研究に対する覚悟が足りず、研究のパートナーとしても役立たずなら、あなたは無能のような死を。私は一人でも研究をやめない。どんな罪も後悔も恐れない。強固な意志だけが未来を紡ぐ。かつて高野先生が高潔な精神で成し遂げたように、私もたった一人でも成し遂げてみせる。
立派な決意だと思います。ですが私もあなたに及ばないにしても わずかの決意があってここへ来ています。そしてあなたの言う通り、私の手はすでに血にまみれています。そしてひなみ沢に来てさらに血に浸しました。だからその責任を全うするまでは私は逃げることはできません。相変わらず私は罪を清算できず苛まれ続けるでしょう。でも逃げない。必ずひなみ沢症候群の研究を決着させます。それだけがこの研究に命を捧げてくださった方、そしてこれから捧げることになるかもしれない方への最後の誠意だと思っています。
Very aware, determined look on his face. He appeared different from even a moment before when he was baffled by Takano having brought up those painful memories. For sure, while Erie's eyes displayed a strong will, and then he turned around.
おそらくリカさんの検査は承諾が取れるでしょう。準備をお願いします。
ええ、心得ましたわ、所長。
They got their consent to follow him. Oh, I'm already on page 1, duh. Suspicion? Oh, that one. The lights came on in the meeting room as the slideshow ended, and all the auditors began to applaud, praising the Erie Institute's dramatic accomplishments.
素晴らしい。実に素晴らしい。本音を言わせてもらえば、私はこのひなみ沢症候群の研究はあまり期待していませんでした。仮に進むとしても、10年単位で3歩進んで2歩下がるような研究になると思っていました。
いやいや、それが短期間の間にこれだけの成果を上げられるとは、入江所長の努力と指導の賜物です。
そんなことはありません。私を支えてくださる優秀なスタッフとそちらの高野さんのおかげです。
What does that come up as? Oh, okay. Actually, I need to take a very small BRB. I'm actually extremely tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and end stream right here for now. Depending on how I feel when I get up, I may try to do the other 4 hours after that. Probably be around 4:35-ish, and I may try to do the rest of my stream then. If not, then I will probably stream this again tomorrow. I've got quite a bit of a headache, and I've just been streaming so much that my voice is hurting, and I'm just extremely tired and worn out, so I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a break here. But thanks to everybody who showed up, who lurked, I appreciate it. I will get back to this very soon, and we can hopefully finish this up here in the next few days or so. So, see you guys later!